My mother had just called my sister brave when my husband walked into the dining room carrying an envelope thick enough to need both hands. Grant didn't look angry. That was the frightening part. He looked tired, his tie loosened, rain darkening the shoulders of his coat. Vanessa sat at Mom's table with both hands wrapped around a mug she hadn't touched. Her eyes were swollen in a careful, almost symmetrical way. Mom stood behind her with one hand on her shoulder like Vanessa had survived surgery. She told the truth before anything happened, Mom said. That took courage. Grant looked at me. Not at Vanessa, not at my mother, me? Is that what they told you? My brother Scott shifted in his chair. Mom's friend Carol suddenly became fascinated by the lemon bars. I could hear the old clock in the living room, the one Mom kept 5 minutes fast because she believed punctuality could be achieved through deception. Grant, I said, what's in the envelope? He said it in front of me. The metal clasp tapped the table. Everything she wrote. Vanessa's mug slipped against its saucer. Mom's fingers tightened on her shoulder. Private messages don't belong in a family discussion. Grant gave a short laugh with no humor in it. They do when the family discussion is built on lies. 11 weeks earlier, Vanessa arrived at our house with 3 garment bags, a countertop mixer, and a framed engagement photo face down in a laundry basket. I opened the door in socks, holding a wooden spoon. She stood on the porch in huge sunglasses even though the sky was gray. Behind her, the trunk of her SUV was open and packed so tightly that a satin shoe had been trapped halfway out under the lid. I need somewhere to land, she said. That was Vanessa's phrase for needing something she had no plan to return. A place to land, a little breathing room, a temporary bridge. She never said, I need your guest room, your evenings, half your closet, and the part of your brain that wakes up at 3 in the morning to solve other people's problems. I looked at the laundry basket. Did you leave him? He left me. Oh, Ness. She lifted one shoulder. The sunglasses made it impossible to tell if she was crying, which I suspected was why she kept them on. Behind me, Grant said, Who is it? Then he saw her. He didn't groan. Grant was too decent to groan in front of someone whose wedding had collapsed. He just closed his eyes for 1 full second, opened them, and reached for the laundry basket. How much is in the car? He asked. Vanessa's mouth trembled. Not much. There were 4 trips. On the last one, Grant carried in the mixer, which Vanessa had registered for, even though she considered turning on her oven an act of domestic oppression. You took the KitchenAid? I asked. It was mine emotionally. Grant glanced at me over the box. I'm going to start using that in property disputes. Vanessa laughed, then covered her mouth and started crying for real. That was how she moved into our guest room. Her fiancé, Colin, had ended things over breakfast at a restaurant where they had already booked a private room for their rehearsal dinner. According to Vanessa, he had waited until after she ordered the crab Benedict because he knew she couldn't eat when she was upset and wanted to ruin expensive food. According to the single text Colin sent me later, the breakup had been coming for months. I didn't answer him. Whatever had happened between them, Vanessa was my sister. And at that moment, she was upstairs trying to hang a wedding dress in a closet full of winter coats. I found her sitting on the edge of the guest bed with the dress pulled across her lap. He said loving me was like living in an airport, she said, always waiting for the next announcement. That's a very polished line for a man who owns 4 identical blue shirts. I bought him those shirts. Then he owes you everything. She smiled without looking at me. There were people who became ugly when they cried. Vanessa became cinematic. Her green eyes brightened, her cheeks flushed, and one dark curl always seemed to loosen near her face as though grief had a stylist. I sat beside her and took the dress carefully so it wouldn't drag on the floor. You can stay a few nights, I said, as long as you need to figure out where you're going. She leaned against me. I knew you'd understand. Downstairs, a cabinet door shut harder than necessary. Grant was making sauce when I returned to the kitchen. He had rolled up his sleeves, and there was a red streak along his wrist where he'd wiped it with the back of his hand. A few nights? He asked. A few nights? Whose calendar? Don't start. I asked a practical question. You used your courtroom voice. Grant wasn't a lawyer. He managed commercial building projects, but when he wanted to pin down a slippery detail, he lowered his voice and became so precise that people started confessing things he hadn't accused them of. He stirred the sauce. Last time a few nights became 7 weeks, her apartment flooded. The upstairs toilet leaked. There was water, there was a bath mat. I put the wooden spoon in the sink. Her wedding just fell apart. I know, she has nowhere to go. She has an apartment. She says she can't be there right now. That isn't the same as nowhere. It was exactly the kind of distinction Grant made that was technically correct and emotionally useless. He saw my face and set down the spoon. Leah, I'm not saying put her luggage on the curb. It sounds a little like that. I'm saying we should agree on what we're offering before you offer it. I folded my arms. We're offering my sister a safe place to sleep. We? There it was. One small word, and suddenly I was defending every holiday we had ever hosted. Grant leaned against the counter. I'll help. You know I'll help. But when your mother calls in 2 days and says Vanessa is fragile, are we allowed to have a limit? Yes. What is it? I don't know yet. Then it's not a limit. It's a feeling. Vanessa appeared in the kitchen doorway wearing one of my old college sweatshirts. She had washed her face. Without makeup, she looked younger, though both of us were well past the age when younger automatically meant helpless. I can hear you, she said. Grant closed his eyes again. I reached for her hand. We're not fighting about you. Please don't insult me while I'm homeless. You're not homeless, Grant said. I kicked his ankle. He looked down at my socked foot. Did you just kick me? Muscle spasm. Vanessa gave a watery laugh. Grant did too, despite himself. That was one of the things I loved about him. He could be irritated without making irritation the most important thing in the room. He poured Vanessa a glass of wine and served her the bigger plate of pasta. For the first 3 days, she was almost no trouble. She slept late, folded the throw blanket after using it, and left 20s under the coffee can as if our house were an unusually intimate motel. She insisted on washing dishes, though she loaded the dishwasher like someone building a trap. At night, she sat between us on the couch and made cutting observations about dating shows until Grant laughed so hard he had to pause the television. On the 4th morning, Mom called me at 6:42. I knew the exact time because I stared at it while the phone vibrated across my nightstand. Grant opened one eye. Fire? Unknown? Blood? Unknown. Then it can wait until 7. The phone stopped, then immediately began again. I answered. Your sister isn't picking up, Mom said. Good morning. I've called twice. She's asleep. At this hour? Mom, it's 6:42. She's always been an early riser when she's depressed. That was not true. Vanessa had once missed Christmas breakfast because a man named Brock had taken her dancing until 4 in the morning, and Mom had reheated the cinnamon rolls individually so they wouldn't dry out. She needs rest, I said. She needs to know Colin's mother called me. I sat up. Grant pulled the pillow over his face. Why did Colin's mother call you? To ask when they can collect the family cake knife. The what? The silver knife for the wedding cake. Apparently, it belonged to Colin's grandmother, although nobody mentioned that when they put it in Vanessa's bag at the engagement party. What do you want me to do? Find it before they accuse her of stealing. No one accused her of stealing. Not in those words. I looked toward the bedroom door. Across the hall, the guest room was silent. Text Vanessa, I said. I have to get ready for work. This is exactly when she needs us to close ranks. I could have asked what army was advancing. I could have said a cake knife was not an invasion. Instead, I climbed out of bed and went to search Vanessa's boxes. Grant found me 20 minutes later kneeling in the hall beside a tote labeled Wedding Misc, holding 6 personalized cocktail napkins and a miniature hot glue gun. He was dressed except for his shoes. Did we lose a bet? He asked. It's an heirloom. The glue gun, the cake knife. He crouched beside me. And why are you looking for it? Because Mom called. That explains who issued the order. I asked why you're obeying it. I tossed the napkins back into the tote. Can we not do this before coffee? We could not do it at all. Great. That would involve you standing up. I glared at him. He kissed my forehead, which was infuriating because it made it harder to remain righteous. The knife is in the kitchen, he said. Vanessa used it to cut the foil on that bottle of wine. I stared at him. He smiled. I notice things. You notice emotional weather. I notice where people put sharp objects. He helped me up and went downstairs. When I carried the knife into the guest room, Vanessa was awake, propped against the pillows with her phone in her hand. You found it, she said. You knew Mom was looking? She texted. Why didn't you answer? I couldn't deal with her before caffeine. I held the knife by its engraved handle. Neither could I, apparently, but here we are. Vanessa lowered her phone. Did she make it sound like Colin's mother was sending the police? Only the silverware division. She smiled, but I didn't. You could have told me it was downstairs. I forgot. The answer was plausible. Vanessa forgot objects, appointments, promises, and entire portions of conversations that had become inconvenient. Still, as I stood there in my work clothes, holding a ceremonial knife before 7:30 in the morning, I felt something small and unpleasant settle under my ribs. Then Vanessa's eyes filled. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know I'm already making your life harder. The feeling disappeared beneath guilt so quickly it might never have existed. I put the knife on the dresser and sat beside her. You're not making my life harder. She studied my face as if making sure. Grant thinks I am. Grant thinks in schedules. He doesn't like me. He carried your mixer upstairs. He carries drywall for a living. He does not carry drywall for a living. You know what I mean? I should have stopped the conversation there. Instead, I defended them to each other, as I had been doing since our wedding. I told Vanessa that Grant liked her but valued privacy. Later, I told Grant that Vanessa respected him but was raw from rejection. I translated ordinary boundaries into gentler language and sharp little comments into misunderstandings. By the end of the first week, everyone was getting along. By the end of the second, Vanessa had stopped leaving 20s under the coffee can. By the end of the third, Mom referred to our guest room as Vanessa's space. The first time Grant asked when she planned to leave, Vanessa was standing just outside the kitchen. I didn't know she could hear us. He did. He kept his voice level and looked directly at the doorway. I'm not asking for a move-out date tonight, he said. I'm asking whether there is a plan. I followed his eyes and saw the shadow beneath the door shift. She's listening, I whispered. I know. Then why would you say it like that? How should I say it? Not like you're evicting her. I just said I wasn't. You used the word move out, because eventually she has to move out. The floor creaked in the hall. Vanessa appeared a moment later holding an empty water glass. You don't have to talk around me, she said. Her face was composed, but her voice had the soft, bruised quality that made any response sound aggressive. Grant folded his arms. Okay, are you looking for a new place? I have a place. Are you planning to go back to it? She filled the glass slowly. I didn't realize there was a deadline. There isn't. Then what are you asking? A plan, Vanessa. I'm 3 weeks out from being abandoned 6 weeks before my wedding. My plan is to wake up without feeling like somebody carved out my chest. Grant glanced at me. He didn't roll his eyes or even exhale dramatically. He just looked at me, which was worse because I knew what he wanted. For me to say something before the conversation became his fault. I stepped between them without physically stepping between them. No one is asking you to leave tonight, I said. Vanessa looked down at her water. He is. I'm standing right here, Grant said. I know. Ness, I said. Grant and I should have talked privately first. That's on us. No, it's fine. It's his house. Our house, I said. She gave me a sad little smile. You know what I mean. Grant pushed away from the counter. I'm going upstairs. Great, I said, because I was irritated that he was leaving me to clean up a mess I believed he had made. He stopped at the doorway. For the record, I don't think asking an adult where she intends to live is cruel. Vanessa stared into the glass. Grant. He went upstairs. I waited until I heard the office door close, then turned to her. You know he didn't mean it that way. What way did he mean it? He likes clarity. He likes control. That landed badly enough that I laughed. Vanessa blinked. What? Grant? Control? The man has been asking me for 9 years to stop moving his keys. That's not what I mean. I know what you mean, and you're wrong. She took a drink. Okay. I hated that okay. It was surrender with a little fishhook inside it. Don't do that. Do what? Make a statement about my husband and then act wounded when I disagree. I'm not wounded. You look wounded. I always look wounded to you. It's why you keep rescuing me. That was sharper than I expected. She seemed surprised by it too. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she set down her glass. I'm sorry. That was horrible. It wasn't great. I'm embarrassed. I don't know what I'm doing. I wake up in a bed that isn't mine, and all my clothes are in boxes, and everyone wants to know what my next step is. Colin used to ask me what my next step was like. I was a defective app. I'm not Colin. No, you're the person cleaning up after him. The anger drained out of me before I had decided to release it. I rubbed her arm. We'll figure it out. She nodded and leaned her head against my shoulder. From upstairs came the muffled sound of a drawer closing. The next morning, Mom called while I was driving to work. Vanessa says Grant wants her gone. Vanessa said that? She didn't have to. I could hear it in her voice. I switched the call to speaker and set my phone in the cup holder. So she didn't say it. She said he asked when she was leaving. He asked if she had a plan. What's the difference? Tone, mostly. Well, tone matters. I stopped at a red light behind a van advertising emergency plumbing. The cartoon plumber on the back door gave me a cheerful thumbs up. Mom, she's been with us for 3 weeks. And you invited her. For a few nights. You said as long as she needed. Those were not the words I remembered saying. But Mom had a way of finding the broadest possible interpretation of anything generous and the narrowest possible interpretation of anything she owed. She can't stay indefinitely. No one said indefinitely. Why does everything have to become a crisis with Grant? I gripped the steering wheel. It isn't a crisis. He never liked how close you two are. Grant has driven Vanessa to the airport at 4 a.m. That's not closeness, that's transportation. I almost admired the speed of it. The light changed. Did you call to ask how I'm doing? A pause. Of course I care how you're doing. That wasn't my question. You sound tense. I'm driving to work while being told I'm failing a house guest. Vanessa is not a house guest. She's your sister. House guests can be sisters, not when they're in crisis. I turned into my office parking lot and sat with the engine running. I worked as an operations manager for a regional medical supply company, which meant I spent my days preventing small failures from becoming large ones. Missing shipments, scheduling gaps, invoices stuck in approval. At work, identifying a problem early was considered competence. In my family, it was considered negativity. Mom, if you're worried about Vanessa having somewhere to stay, she can stay with you. Another pause. Longer this time. My guest room isn't set up. It has a bed. The mattress hurts her back. Then she can bring ours. Don't be sarcastic. I'm not. I'm problem solving. You know my house feels suffocating to her since your father died. Dad had been gone 4 years. He had died in the den suddenly while Mom and Vanessa were out choosing paint colors for the upstairs bathroom. Since then, Mom treated Vanessa's discomfort in that house as sacred. Though Vanessa had managed to attend every Thanksgiving there without suffocating near the pie. I have to go in, I said. Just don't let Grant make her feel unwanted. I stared at the concrete wall in front of my car. Is it important that I feel wanted? What kind of question is that? One I'm asking. You're in your own home. Exactly. Mom sighed. Leah, she has always needed more reassurance than you. There it was, polished smooth from decades of use. I have to work. I hung up before she could tell me I was strong. At lunch, Grant sent me a photo of my keys sitting on top of the washing machine. "Proof of life," he wrote. I replied with a picture of my middle finger under the conference table. He sent back a heart. The stupid exchange made my throat tighten. We weren't a couple who stayed angry elegantly. We sent sarcastic messages and bought each other snacks. We apologized in grocery store aisles. Once, after a terrible fight about my mother, Grant had come home with a rotisserie chicken and said, "I don't know how to fix us, but apparently I think poultry is involved." I wanted to tell him about Mom's call, but I knew he would ask why Vanessa had called her. Then he would say triangulation, a word he had learned from a podcast and become far too enthusiastic about. Instead, I asked whether he wanted Thai food. When I got home, Mom's sedan was in our driveway. She and Vanessa were at the dining room table surrounded by wedding stationery. Thick cream invitations, response cards, envelopes lined in pale green tissue. Vanessa had paid extra to have their initials embossed above the return address. Mom held an invitation over a black trash bag. "Your sister can't be expected to do this alone." "Do what?" "Get rid of these." Vanessa sat with a silver letter opener in her hand, slicing each invitation in half before dropping it into the bag. "I tried throwing them away whole," she said. "It felt like sending out invitations to my own humiliation." On the sideboard were 2 bottles of wine, one empty. I put down my purse. "Where's Grant?" Mom's mouth tightened. "What happened?" "He was rude," she said. Vanessa kept cutting. "How?" "He came in, saw us working, and said he was going to the gym." I waited. "That's it? He didn't even ask if we needed help. With destroying wedding invitations? With supporting Vanessa?" The letter opener paused. "Mom," Vanessa said quietly. "No, I'm tired of everyone behaving as though grief is inconvenient." I looked at the black bag. "Dad died, Mom." "A wedding got canceled." Vanessa flinched. The second the words left my mouth, I wanted them back. Mom stood. "That was unbelievably cruel." "I didn't mean. You meant exactly what you said." Vanessa put down the letter opener. "Please don't fight. I'm sorry," I told her. "That came out wrong. It's okay." It wasn't okay. Her face had gone still. Mom gathered her purse. "I'll leave before my presence becomes another burden on this household. No one said you were a burden, not in those words." She walked out carrying the empty wine bottle for recycling, because even during a dramatic exit, Mom remained morally opposed to putting glass in the trash. I stood in the middle of the dining room, looking at all those severed invitations. Vanessa reached for another one. "I'm sorry she came over without asking," she said. I pulled out a chair. "I shouldn't have said that." "No, you were right. I wasn't. Dad is dead. My wedding is just canceled." Perspective. That's not what I meant. She ran the letter opener beneath the embossed initials, separating the card into 2 neat halves. Grant said something similar. My stomach tightened. When? Earlier. What did he say? That maybe getting rid of all this would help me stop treating the breakup like a death. That doesn't sound like him. She shrugged. Maybe I heard it wrong. The front door opened. Grant came in wearing gym shorts and an old navy t-shirt, his hair damp with sweat. He took one look at my face, then at Vanessa. What happened? Did you tell her she was treating her breakup like a death? His eyebrows lifted. No. Vanessa looked up. You said I was acting like somebody died. I said your mother was acting like somebody died because I went to the gym. That's not how you said it. It is exactly how I said it. The room changed. Nothing visible, nothing I could have pointed to, just the pressure. Vanessa gathered the cut invitations into a stack. I don't want to be in the middle of your marriage. Grant's laugh came out before he could stop it. She recoiled. I stood. Grant. What? She just put herself in the middle and announced she doesn't want to be there. She misunderstood you. She repeated half a sentence in a way that made me sound cruel. I said I might have heard it wrong, Vanessa said. You said that after telling Leah. Stop, I said. Both of them looked at me. I lowered my voice. Can everyone just stop? Grant stared at me for a moment, then nodded. Sure. He walked into the kitchen. A cabinet opened, then another. Ordinary sounds, performed carefully. Vanessa put the letter opener down. I think I should leave. My body reacted before my mind did. Tonight? I can get a hotel? You don't need a hotel. I'm clearly causing problems. We had problems before you got here, I said, trying to make her feel less guilty. Grant went very still in the kitchen. I saw it through the doorway, the slight tightening across his shoulders. Vanessa saw it too. That was the first time I understood that she was watching him as closely as he was watching her. I should have paid attention to that. Instead, I crossed the dining room and started gathering the ruined invitations as if paper were the problem. You're not getting a hotel, I told Vanessa. We're all tired. Mom brought wine. Everybody said things badly. I didn't, Grant called from the kitchen. I closed my eyes. Vanessa gave me a look that was almost sympathetic. You don't have to manage both of us. I'm not managing anyone. Grant appeared in the doorway holding a jar of peanut butter. You are literally putting scissors away so no one gets hurt. It's a letter opener, even more symbolic. Can you please not be funny right now? His face changed. Grant used humor the way other people used handrails. If I knocked his hand away, he usually didn't reach for me again. He screwed the lid back onto the peanut butter. I'm going to shower. Vanessa waited until he was upstairs. I really can leave. And go where? I don't know. Mom's couch. You hate Mom's house. I don't hate it. You once said the upstairs hallway feels like it's holding its breath. That was after Dad. It was last Thanksgiving. She folded one of the split invitations along the cut line. See? This is why you're the only person I can stay with. You remember exactly what everyone says. It sounded like praise. With Vanessa, praise often came with a job attached. I tied the trash bag and carried it to the garage. When I returned, she had cleared the table and wiped it down. The room smelled like lemon spray and wine. I'll call my landlord tomorrow, she said. Maybe I can go back to my apartment. Good. Her eyes flicked toward me. I mean, good that you'll call, not good that you'll go. Right. I want you here if you need to be here. I know. But Grant needs to know this isn't open-ended. I know. And Mom can't come over and turn our dining room into a grief workshop without asking. I know. She said it so softly that I heard myself from the outside, assigning rules to a woman whose wedding dress was still hanging across the hall. I rubbed my forehead. I'm making this worse. No, you're trying to keep him calm. That was not what I had said. Before I could correct her, the shower turned off upstairs. Vanessa glanced at the ceiling. You should go talk to him. What are you going to do? Finish the wine and make bad choices online. Don't buy anything embroidered. No promises. Grant was pulling on a clean t-shirt when I walked into our bedroom. He saw me in the mirror and continued dressing. She's staying tonight, I said. I assumed. She'll call her landlord tomorrow. Great. She thinks she might be able to go back soon. Great. I sat on the edge of the bed. Could you use a second word? Wonderful. Grant. He faced me. What do you want me to say? That you understand. I understand everything. That's the problem. Meaning? Meaning I understand your sister is hurt. I understand your mother has decided hurt suspends all normal rules. I understand I'm not allowed to ask a question in my kitchen unless I phrase it like a hostage negotiator. Our kitchen. You only seem to remember that when I call it mine. I looked toward the closed door. Lower your voice. He stared at me. That was the wrong thing to say. I knew it as soon as I said it, but knowing did not make me unsay it. She's across the hall, I added. I'm aware. She doesn't need to hear us fighting about her. Then stop making me whisper in my own bedroom. I flinched. He rubbed both hands over his face. I'm sorry. You should be. I'm sorry I raised my voice. I'm not sorry I asked when she's leaving. Fine. No, don't do fine. What would you prefer? The truth. The truth is, I am trying to keep my sister from falling apart, my mother from making it worse, and you from treating every imperfect sentence like sworn testimony." He sat beside me, leaving a few inches between us. "And who is keeping you from falling apart? I'm not falling apart. I know. That's why no one ever thinks to help you." The tenderness in his voice nearly undid me, so naturally I became angry. I didn't ask for an analysis. You never do. Maybe because you make everything sound like there's something wrong with me. I think there's something wrong with how they treat you. They? Your mother and Vanessa. Vanessa just lost her fiancé. That doesn't erase the rest of her personality. I stood. He caught my wrist gently, not to hold me there, but to ask me not to leave. "Leah, I'm tired, so am I. I have to be at work in the morning. So do I. She'll go soon." "When?" "I don't know." He released my wrist. There it was again. The answer that was not a limit. I slept badly. Every time the house settled, I thought I heard movement in the hall. Once, around 2, the bathroom door clicked shut. At 5:30, I found Grant's side of the bed empty. He was downstairs making coffee. "I wasn't leaving you," he said when I entered. I didn't ask. "You had the face." "What face?" "The one where you've already written 3 terrible endings." He handed me my mug. He had added cinnamon because he knew I liked it and would never remember to do it myself. "I'm sorry," I said. "Me too. I shouldn't have said we had problems before Vanessa got here. We did." I looked at him over the rim. "We're married," he said. "Of course we had problems." I objected to the timing and audience. She was upset. She's always upset at the exact volume required to win. That's unfair, is it? The guest room door opened upstairs. We both went quiet. Grant gave me a look. I whispered, "Don't." He raised both hands and went to take a shower. Vanessa came down 20 minutes later, dressed for work in a cream blouse and narrow black pants, her hair twisted into a neat knot. The transformation was startling. At home, she had become all blankets and bare feet, but she worked in corporate event sales for a downtown hotel, a job that required her to make difficult people feel fascinating. "I called my landlord," she said. "At 7 in the morning, I emailed, and he says the apartment is mine through the end of the lease, obviously." I waited. She opened the refrigerator. "I might go by this weekend." "Might?" "To see how it feels." That sounds reasonable. She pulled out the carton of eggs. "I thought I'd make breakfast for everyone. Gran already ate." Her hand paused on the carton. "Of course he did." "What does that mean?" "Nothing. He's efficient." The word carried a small chill. "Ness, I need you to stop interpreting everything Grant does as a message about you." She set the eggs on the counter. "I didn't. You did it last night, too. Last night, he was talking about me, and he had a point." Her expression tightened, but she nodded. "He did." I was prepared for tears. Her agreement left me with nowhere to put my irritation. She cracked eggs into a bowl. "I'm sorry." "Thank you." "And I'm sorry I put you in the middle." "Thank you. I know you love him." I leaned against the counter. "That's an odd thing to say." "Why?" "Because no one questioned it." She whisked the eggs. "I was trying to say, I respect your marriage. Then say that. I respect your marriage." The exchange was so strange that I laughed. After a second, she laughed too. "You're terrifying before breakfast," she said. "I learned it from Grant." "No, he's terrifying after breakfast too." I pointed at her with my mug. "Too soon?" "Much." She put one hand over her heart. I withdraw the remark. By Friday, peace had returned in the way peace often returned in my family. Nobody addressed what happened, and the person with the shortest memory set the mood. Vanessa brought home miniature cheesecakes left over from an event. Grant fixed the loose wheel on her suitcase. She bought him a 6-pack of the dark beer he liked and presented it with an exaggerated bow. For services rendered and emotional damages, he accepted it. "I'll have my people contact your people. I think Leah is both our people." Unfortunately accurate, I said. They smiled at each other. The relief I felt was embarrassing. On Saturday, Vanessa went to her apartment. I expected her to return with fewer boxes. She came back carrying 2 lamps, a framed print, and another basket of shoes. "I just want some familiar things around me," she said when Grant opened the door. He looked at the lamps. "They're temporary," I said. I didn't say anything. You made a face. This is my face. Vanessa lifted 1 lamp. "I can take them back." Grant stepped aside. "No, bring them in." She touched his arm as she passed. "Thank you." The contact lasted no more than a second. Grant looked at me after she went upstairs. I pretended to be studying the mail. That evening, Scott came over for dinner. My brother was 41 and had managed to live 25 minutes from Mom while remaining mysteriously unavailable for every practical need. He brought expensive olives, called them his contribution, and kissed both my cheeks. "You look tired," he told me. "Thank you." It wasn't criticism. It wasn't useful either. He grinned and wandered toward the kitchen. Scott liked Grant because Grant never asked him to discuss feelings. Grant liked Scott because Scott could be entertaining in 90-minute portions. Vanessa came downstairs in a green sweater I recognized as mine. Scott spread his arms. "There's the runaway bride." She stopped. His smile collapsed. "Too soon?" "By several years," Grant said. Scott apologized. Vanessa forgave him, and within 10 minutes he was telling a story about accidentally attending the wrong retirement party. Dinner was almost easy until Mom called Scott. He put her on speaker without asking. "Are you all together?" she said. "We're at Leah's," Scott told her. There was a pause in which Mom absorbed the fact that 3 of her adult children had gathered without her. "I'm finalizing my birthday dinner," she said, "since no one else seems interested." Her birthday was 5 weeks away. "I thought we were doing it here," Vanessa said. I looked at her. "We were?" "Mom said your dining room seats everyone." Of course it did. Our dining room had become a public resource. Grant set down his fork. Scott reached for another olive. Mom continued, "Nothing elaborate. Just 12 people." "12?" I said. Carol and Jim would be hurt if they weren't included. Grant looked at me, waiting. Vanessa saw him waiting. "We can do 12, she said brightly. "I'll help Leah." Mom sighed with relief. Scott chewed. Every eye at the table moved toward me. I said yes. Grant didn't argue until we were alone. That was the night he moved his pillow to the downstairs office. It was also the night Vanessa sent him her first email. I wouldn't know that part until he brought me the printouts. The argument began with 12 people and ended with a pillow. "You said yes," Grant said, after Scott left. He stood at the kitchen sink rinsing plates more forcefully than necessary. The dining room still smelled like roast chicken, and the rosemary candle Vanessa had lit because she said our house smelled aggressively edible. What was I supposed to say with Mom on speaker? No. To her birthday? To hosting it. She already thought it was happening here, because Vanessa told her it was. Vanessa thought we'd discussed it. We hadn't, obviously. He turned off the water. "Then why are you talking like this was a clerical error? Because I don't want another fight. You avoid one fight by volunteering us for 5 weeks of work, and somehow that counts as peace. It's dinner, Grant. For 12. We've had 12 people here. Yes. And you clean for 3 days, cook for 2, and spend the entire dinner watching whether your mother needs ice. I'll make it simpler. You always say that." And Vanessa offered to help. He stared at me until I heard how weak that sounded. She will help. Like she helped with the wedding invitations? That was her problem. It became ours. Everything becomes ours with you. The second I said it, something closed in his face. He dried his hands slowly. What does that mean? It means you take every situation and turn it into a referendum on my family. No. Your family turns every situation into a test of whether you love them, and you keep making me take it with you. They are not doing that. Your mother just called during dinner to assign us her birthday party. She asked. She announced. You could have said something. I was waiting for you. So this is my fault because I didn't read your mind fast enough? No, Leah. I was waiting for you because it's your mother, our house, and you're allowed to answer before I become the bad guy. You were already sitting there looking furious. I was sitting at my own table. Exactly. Looking like everyone else had trespassed. He laughed once. Your sister has been living across the hall for a month. Your brother arrives with olives and leaves with leftovers. Your mother books our dining room by phone. At what point am I allowed to notice we have no private life? I looked toward the stairs. He followed my eyes. Of course. Keep your voice down. Of course. He walked out of the kitchen. I finished loading the dishwasher, partly because it needed doing and partly because the plates did not accuse me of choosing sides. I expected Grant to cool off in the bedroom. Instead, he came downstairs carrying his pillow and the folded quilt from the foot of our bed. What are you doing? Giving us some privacy. That's dramatic. So is whispering in every room. The couch will destroy your back. I'll use the office. We don't have a bed in the office. It has a pull-out chair. That thing is for reading. Tonight, I'll read horizontally. Despite myself, I almost smiled. He didn't. Vanessa stood at the top of the stairs in the green sweater. Neither of us had heard her door open. She looked at the pillow, then at me. Is this because of dinner? No, I said. Yes, Grant said at the same time. Her mouth tightened. Grant headed toward the office. Grant, I said. He stopped. I could have told him to come upstairs. I could have apologized for saying everything became ours when most of what became ours had arrived through me. Instead, I felt Vanessa watching, and the apology caught in my throat like something too intimate to do in public. Take the extra blanket, I said. It gets cold down there. He nodded once and closed the office door. Vanessa came down 2 steps. You should go after him. He wants space. Does he? I looked up. Please don't. I'm not judging. That sounded like judging. I'm worried about you. I'm fine. She sat on the stairs. You always say that right before you start cleaning something. I realized I was wiping an already clean counter. I dropped the cloth into the sink. This is normal marriage stuff. Okay. Couples argue. I know. You and Colin argued. Her face changed. I'm sorry, I said. That was careless. No, it's true. We did. She pulled her sleeves over her hands. Near the end, we argued about stupid things because neither of us wanted to say the real thing. What was the real thing? That he didn't like who he was with me. I leaned against the counter. She looked toward the office door. Sometimes the complaint isn't the complaint. Grant's complaint is absolutely the complaint. He hates hosting. He likes hosting. He tolerates hosting. He likes making people feel comfortable. He hates that you don't enjoy it. I frowned. What? He watches you the whole time. Tonight you barely sat down. He was watching because he wanted me to notice he was annoyed. Maybe. The way she said it made me feel as though she and Grant had participated in a conversation I had missed. What did he say to you? Nothing. Then don't tell me what he hates. She stood. You're right. Again, no resistance, just the quiet agreement that left me feeling unreasonable. I'm going to bed, she said. Halfway up the stairs, she turned. For what it's worth, I'll do the birthday dinner, all of it. You won't have to lift a finger. That's not possible in my house. Watch me. The next morning, I woke before my alarm and reached across an empty bed. Grant's side was cool. I found him in the kitchen already dressed, drinking coffee from a travel mug. His shoulders looked stiff. How's your back? 46 years old. You're 44. It aged overnight. I opened the cabinet for my mug. Are you coming back upstairs tonight? He looked into his coffee. Do you want me to? Yes. The answer came quickly enough to surprise both of us. He rubbed his thumb along the lid. Then yes. I stepped closer. I'm sorry I said everything becomes ours. Some things should become ours. I know, but not everything your mother assigns you. I know. And we need a date for Vanessa. I'll talk to her. A real conversation. Yes, not one where she cries and you end up offering to pay her electric bill. That happened once. It happened twice. The second time, you called it a housewarming gift. I smiled. You keep records. I noticed things. I kissed him. He put one hand against my waist, and for a moment the kitchen belonged to us again. Then the floor creaked upstairs. Grant pulled back first. Vanessa came down in workout clothes, her hair in a high ponytail. "Sorry," she said, though she had not interrupted anything more scandalous than a married couple kissing beside a toaster. She went directly to the coffee maker. Grant picked up his keys. "I'll see you tonight." "Don't forget we're meeting the electrician at 5, I said. He tapped his temple. Records. After he left, Vanessa poured her coffee. "I'm glad you made up." "We didn't make up. We talked. That's what healthy people call making up." "Did you sleep?" "Not really." "Why?" She shrugged. "The office is under my room. That chair squeaks." Heat rose into my face. "He slept," I said. "I know." Her answer came too quickly. She added cream to her coffee. I heard him moving around, that's all. I watched the cream turn in slow clouds. "You offered to help with Mom's birthday. I already emailed the restaurant about catering." "What restaurant?" "The Italian place she likes. She complains their sauce is sweet. She complains all sauce is sweet." That made me laugh. Vanessa smiled. "See? I can help." And for a while, she did. She made a spreadsheet with menu options. She called Carol to confirm dietary restrictions and convinced Scott to bring wine instead of olives. She ordered linen napkins in Mom's favorite shade of blue and found a bakery willing to recreate the almond cake Dad used to buy. Mom was thrilled. "She's really pulling herself together," she told me on the phone. "Having a purpose is good for her. She's doing a lot." I knew this birthday could be healing. For whom? She did not say. The dinner became more elaborate with each act of help. Vanessa added place cards because Mom liked a formal table, then flowers, then a framed photo display that required me to go through boxes in our basement and find pictures of Mom with people she no longer spoke to. Grant came downstairs while I was sitting on the floor surrounded by albums. "I thought you weren't lifting a finger." "I'm sitting." Technically true. He picked up a photograph of Mom and Dad dancing at Scott's wedding. "This one?" She says her hair looks flat. Her hair is 4 inches high. She was going through a modest phase. He sat beside me. For a few minutes, we sorted pictures together. He chose ones where Mom was laughing. I rejected one because Vanessa was blinking, then caught myself. "Use it," I said. Grant looked at me. "What?" "Nothing." "No, say it." He set the picture down. "You edit the whole family for her. For Vanessa, you just protected her from blinking in a photo for someone else's birthday. That's what sisters do they?" I nudged him with my shoulder. "Don't ruin a nice moment." He kissed my temple. "Wouldn't dream of it." Upstairs, the front door opened. Vanessa called my name, then came down carrying shopping bags. "The napkins are wrong," she announced. "What's wrong with them? They're teal. They're blue. They're emotionally teal." Grant muttered, "Property law is getting complicated." Vanessa laughed and dropped onto the bottom step. For another few days, we almost felt like a team. Then the hotel booked Vanessa for a weekend conference, and every birthday task she had claimed slid quietly onto my list. She left the spreadsheet on the kitchen counter with my name added beside 9 unfinished items. That night, while I called the bakery and Grant measured the dining table for an extra leaf, Vanessa sent him a second email. The first had been an apology. The second was an observation. She told him she could see how tired he was of watching me give myself away. She said she was beginning to understand that his anger wasn't selfishness. It was the only way he knew how to protect me. It was a beautiful interpretation of Grant. That was what made it dangerous. Vanessa did not accuse him of being controlling or unkind. She saw the part of him he was proudest of, the part that loved me, and recast every sharp edge as evidence of devotion. She told him that other people mistook his frustration for impatience, but she understood he was exhausted from being the only person willing to protect me from my own generosity. Grant replied with 3 sentences. "I appreciate the apology. Leah and I handle our marriage together. Please keep anything about the household in the group text." Vanessa did not answer that email. She came home from the conference Sunday night with hotel pastries, sore feet, and a bottle of bourbon for Grant. "Bribery?" he asked when she handed it to him. "Gratitude." "Leah said you handled the bakery. I called them once. They fear you now. They should. They tried to charge us for edible flowers. They're flowers you can eat. All flowers are edible once." I groaned. "Please don't say that at Mom's dinner. Carol will test it." Vanessa laughed and dropped her suitcase near the stairs. For 10 minutes, she was easy to love. That was the part people never understood about her. They imagined favoritism required one child to be obviously awful. Vanessa could be funny and generous. She remembered the names of people's pets. She tipped 25% even when service was bad because she said no one should lose rent money over an overcooked steak. When Dad was dying, she had climbed into his hospital bed in her good coat and sung old commercials until he smiled. She could also leave a suitcase in the front hall for 6 days and step over it as if it belonged to another family. The conference had gone well. Her hotel was considering her for a larger corporate accounts position, which meant more money and less weekend work. "That's great," I said. "It would be if I wanted to spend the rest of my life convincing medical device companies that beige ballrooms are exciting. I work for a medical supply company. Beige excites us." Grant poured her a small glass of the bourbon. "To corporate beige," he said. She lifted it toward him. "To people who make ugly things function." He hesitated before touching his glass to hers. I noticed. I thought he was still annoyed about the emails. I did not know there had been more than one, and because he had asked her to stop, he believed the matter was finished. I believed the matter was the birthday dinner. Mom changed the menu the following afternoon. She had decided Italian food was too heavy and wanted something fresh, which turned out to mean salmon, asparagus, 2 salads, roasted potatoes, and a chilled cucumber soup she had eaten once in Vermont. "Can the Italian restaurant do salmon?" she asked. "Probably badly. Then we need a different caterer. The dinner is in 11 days. "I know. That's why I'm calling now." I was at work with a stalled shipment in Ohio and a sales manager standing beside my desk mouthing, "Is that Diane?" I held up one finger. "Mom." Vanessa arranged the restaurant. "Have you talked to her?" "She's in meetings all day. So am I. You don't have meetings all day." I looked at the sales manager. He shrugged apologetically as if he had personally leaked my calendar. "I can't change everything right now. You don't have to do it right now, just before 5, because the seafood place needs a deposit." "Which seafood place?" "I sent you the link." My inbox pinged. "Mom." "What?" "We agreed on Italian." I agreed before Carol reminded me Jim has reflux. Jim drank 6 margaritas at Easter. He suffered afterward. That sounds like a private journey. The sales manager covered his mouth. Mom went silent. "I have to go," I said. "You always make me feel silly for caring whether people are comfortable." The line landed exactly where she aimed it. "I'll look at the menu." "Thank you, sweetheart. I knew I could count on you." After work, I sat in my car and called 3 caterers. 2 laughed when I gave them the date. The third offered salmon at a price that made me reconsider the emotional possibilities of pasta. Gran and I were supposed to have dinner that night at a small tapas place we liked. We had planned it after his night in the office, a deliberate attempt to spend time together where no one needed us to fix anything. I got home 20 minutes late. He was waiting in the living room wearing the dark blue shirt I had bought him for our anniversary. Vanessa was curled in the chair with her laptop. "You look handsome," I said. "Thank you. Give me 10 minutes. You said that 20 minutes ago. I was on the phone." "With?" "The caterer." His jaw moved. Vanessa looked up. "What happened to the Italian place?" Mom changed her mind. "Since when?" "This afternoon." "She didn't call me." "You were in meetings." "So were you," Grant said. I put down my purse. "Not now." I used 2 words. They were very pointed words. They were ordinary words, Leah. Vanessa closed her laptop. "This is my fault. I'll handle it." "It isn't your fault," I said. "I told Mom I'd help and then work exploded. Work happens. Grant stood. Should I change? No. Why? Because we're not going. I said 10 minutes. You haven't chosen the new menu. The deposit is due tonight and your mother will call during dinner. I can turn off my phone. He looked at me. I can. Okay. I hurried upstairs. While I changed, my phone rang twice on the dresser. I ignored it. Then a text came through. Call me before you pay them, Mom wrote. Vanessa says salmon smells in a dining room. I stared at the message. A second text arrived from Vanessa. Sorry, just remembered Dad hated salmon and Mom might get emotional. I put on earrings, took them off, and called Mom. By the time I came downstairs, Grant had changed into jeans and an old gray sweatshirt. What are you doing? Ordering pizza. I'm ready. It's been 40 minutes. You could have waited. I have been waiting. Vanessa had disappeared upstairs. I lowered my voice. Mom changed the menu again. I know, I heard. I couldn't leave it unresolved. Why? Because the deposit is due. Let it be unresolved. And then what? We have 12 people here with nothing to eat. We order pizza. This is your answer to everything. No. Rotisserie chicken is my answer when our marriage is in danger. Pizza is for your mother. I wanted to laugh. I was too angry. You knew this dinner mattered to her. What matters to me? We were going out for tapas, Grant. We weren't renewing our vows. No, we were practicing having a life. That's unfair. It's accurate. You act like I enjoy this. I think some part of you does. I stared at him. He continued, quieter now. I think being needed makes you feel safe. If everyone needs you, no one can leave you. The cruelty was not in the words. It was in the fact that I had once told him the same thing about myself at 2 a.m, after Dad's funeral, when grief had loosened everything I usually kept tied down. Oh, you don't get to use that against me. I'm not. You just did. I'm trying to explain why this keeps happening. To whom? Me? To both of us. You always have a theory, and you always have an emergency. I took my purse from the table. Where are you going? He asked. To get food. I ordered pizza. I don't want pizza. Leah. I walked out before he could say anything else. I drove for 15 minutes without knowing where I was going, then pulled into the parking lot of a pharmacy. I sat beneath a burned-out light and cried so angrily that I kept wiping my face as if the tears belonged to someone trespassing in my car. My phone buzzed. I expected Grant. It was Vanessa. Where are you? I did not answer. Then Mom called. I turned the phone face down. 5 minutes later, someone knocked on my passenger window. I jumped. Vanessa stood outside holding my coat. I unlocked the door and she climbed in. How did you find me? You share your location with me. I do? Since the Christmas market 2 years ago. That feels invasive. You're welcome. She draped the coat over my lap and held out a paper bag. Inside was a cheeseburger and fries. I thought Grant ordered pizza. He did. I didn't want pizza. I know. She sat back and looked through the windshield. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then she said, He shouldn't have said that, you heard? Our walls are decorative. I took out a fry. He wasn't completely wrong. That doesn't mean he was kind. He's frustrated. He's always frustrated with you. No, he isn't. She nodded, accepting the correction too easily. What? Nothing. Say it. She picked at a loose thread on her sleeve. I just wonder if you notice how often you apologize before you walk into a room with him. I was late. You apologize when Mom calls. You apologize when I need something. You apologize for the house being loud. You apologize for being tired, because those things affect him. Everything affects Grant. I pushed the bag toward her. You don't understand our marriage. You're right. Stop agreeing like that. How am I supposed to agree? You could mean it. She was quiet. Then she said, Colin used to make me feel like love was a performance review. Every mistake became part of a pattern. Grant is not Colin. I know. Then stop comparing them. I'm comparing how I felt. I looked out at the pharmacy's red sign, blinking over and over. She touched my wrist. "Come home," she said. "He's worried." When we returned, Grant was sitting alone at the kitchen table. The pizza box was open, one slice missing. Vanessa walked straight upstairs. I put my purse down. "Did you send her after me?" I asked. "No, I called you." My phone was face down, I figured. He looked exhausted. I sat across from him. "I'm sorry about dinner," I said. "I'm sorry I used something you told me privately." The clean apologies left no obvious place for our anger, so it stayed between us. He slept in the office again that night, then the next. On the third morning, Vanessa emailed him from work. She said she didn't want me to see the message and become defensive. She said she knew Grant loved me, but love was not always enough to make two people good for each other. She told him he had spent years being cast as the villain for wanting a normal marriage. Then she wrote, "If you're only staying because you're afraid her family will destroy you for leaving, I can give you a clean exit." She did not explain what a clean exit meant in that first message. Grant didn't answer. At 10:17 that morning, she sent another. "I'm not telling you to abandon her. I'm saying there's a way to be honest without letting Mom and Leah turn you into someone cruel. I know how they work. If you decide you're done, I can make them understand it wasn't sudden." Grant was at a job site across town, overseeing the replacement of a fire-damaged stairwell in an office building. He later told me he read the second email standing beside a pallet of tile, while two electricians argued about conduit. His first thought was that Vanessa had misunderstood something. His second was that he had misunderstood her. He reread the earlier messages, the apology, the flattering observation, the careful insistence that she saw his love for me more clearly than I did. What had felt intrusive now looked arranged. At home, I was making place cards. Vanessa sat across from me at the dining room table, writing names in gold ink because her handwriting was better than mine. She had apologized for abandoning the birthday work and taken the afternoon off to help. "Does Carol have 2 R's?" I asked. "1. It looks incomplete. Add another. She'll never know who she was supposed to be." I smiled and passed her the card. She was wearing reading glasses I had never seen before, narrow tortoiseshell frames that made her look serious and efficient. Her phone lay face down beside her hand. "Should Scott sit next to Jim?" she asked. "Scott will talk about golf. Jim likes golf. Jim likes saying he plays golf. Scott will ask for details. So opposite ends. Put Scott by Carol. She thinks he's charming. Carol thinks parking attendants are charming. She likes men in uniforms. Scott works from home in basketball shorts. Don't ruin this for her." Vanessa laughed. The ordinariness of it stayed with me. Somewhere in the city, my husband was reading an offer to help him leave me, and I was debating seating arrangements with the woman who sent it. At 11:06, Vanessa's phone lit up. She glanced at the screen, then turned it farther away from me. "Work?" I asked. "Always. You're technically off. Corporate beige never sleeps." She opened her laptop and typed for a minute. The third email reached Grant at 11:11. "You don't need to respond. I know you're loyal. It's one of the things I admire about you. But loyalty can become fear when everyone around you benefits from your silence." That was the first time she used the word admire. Grant forwarded the entire chain to his personal email. Then he made a folder and moved the messages into it because, even furious, he organized things. He still didn't answer. I wish I could say he called me immediately. He didn't. That hurt later, although I understood why. The last serious conversation we'd had ended with me driving away and Vanessa finding me. She had been in our house for nearly 6 weeks. I had defended her so automatically that Grant no longer knew whether showing me an ugly truth would bring me closer or make me protect her harder. He decided to wait until he could speak to me in person. While he waited, Vanessa and I went to Mom's house to collect the extra dining chairs she kept in her basement. Mom had wrapped each chair in an old fitted sheet. We carried them upstairs one at a time while she followed us, giving advice about door frames. "Angle it," she told me. "I am angling it. The other direction. There are only 2. Don't scrape the wall." The chair was older than I was and weighed as much as regret. Vanessa came up behind me carrying hers backward, heels first, with no visible effort. "Use your legs," she said. "I'm going to use this chair as a weapon." Mom clicked her tongue. "Grant should have come. He's working. He could have picked them up later. You need them today?" No, but they were ready. I got the chair through the basement door and set it in the hallway. Mom wiped invisible dust from the back. "Has he stopped sulking?" she asked. "Who?" "You know who." "Grant isn't sulking. Vanessa said he's sleeping downstairs." Vanessa froze halfway up the steps. I looked at her. "You told Mom?" She asked how things were going. "And you told her where my husband sleeps?" I said things were tense. Mom waved one hand. "Married people fight. Your father slept in the den plenty of times. Dad fell asleep watching television. Not always." There was something almost cheerful in the way she said it, as if marital unhappiness was a family recipe she was pleased to pass down. "We're fine," I said. "I'm sure you are. Grant likes to make a point." Vanessa set down her chair. "Mom." "What?" "Don't criticize him." Mom gave her an approving look. "That's very fair of you." Vanessa bent to adjust the sheet, hiding her face. I should have wondered why she was suddenly defending him. Instead, I was relieved to have an ally. Mom took us into the kitchen and showed us the blouse she had bought for her dinner. Then she wanted opinions about earrings. Then she made coffee. The chairs waited in the hall while the afternoon disappeared in 10-minute pieces. At 12:48, Vanessa excused herself to use the bathroom. The fourth email reached Grant at 12:52. I'm going to say one thing I probably shouldn't. There have been moments in your house when I felt more understood by you than I ever felt with Colin. I think you felt it too. I'm not asking you to do anything with that. Maybe nothing ever happens. Maybe after enough time, when no one can say we caused this, we see if there was something honest here. Grant told me later that this was the message that made his hands go cold. Not because he was tempted, because he understood that Vanessa was building a story in which his refusal would become secrecy and his silence would become mutual feeling. She was giving him a role without his consent, the same way Mom gave me chores and called them love. He walked outside the job site and called Vanessa. She did not answer. She was back in Mom's kitchen, drinking coffee beside me. Her phone buzzed inside her purse. She reached for it, saw the screen, and let it stop. "Aren't you going to get that?" Mom asked. "It's the hotel. You said you were off." "I am." "Then don't answer," I said. Vanessa looked at me for half a second too long. "Right," she said. Grant called again. She silenced it. Then she emailed him. "I can't talk right now. Leah is sitting next to me." "At 1:09, he replied. "Do not contact me privately again. I love my wife. I have never expressed or felt romantic interest in you. Your suggestion is appalling. You need to arrange to leave our house." Vanessa read it while Mom was telling a story about Carol returning a blouse after wearing it to dinner. Her face lost color. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing. You look sick." I stood up too fast. "You're sitting down." She stared at me, then laughed. It was a strange, breathless sound. "I think I need water." She went to the sink. Mom continued talking. Grant believed his reply would end it. He had stated the truth plainly. There was no room to misunderstand. Vanessa found room. At 1:26, she sent him another email. "I'm sorry I scared you. I was trying to offer compassion, not pressure. You don't have to be ashamed of whatever you're feeling. I would never hurt Leah." He did not answer. At 1:34, she wrote again. "If you're worried about timing, wait until after Mom's birthday. Leah will already be emotional that day, and doing it before would make it look connected to me. Don't mention these emails. Just tell her the marriage has been dying slowly. I'll stay close to her." Mom already understands that sometimes love changes, and she won't let the family attack you. The line about Mom was what Grant printed first. I did not know any of this when Vanessa drove us home with 2 basement chairs knocking together in the back of her SUV. She was unusually quiet. "Are you sure you're okay?" I asked. Headache. Do you want me to drive? No. You're gripping the wheel like it insulted you. She loosened her fingers. Work drama. Anything you want to talk about? No. The answer was sharp, then softened. Sorry, I'm just tired. When we reached the house, she carried both chairs inside before I could stop her. You don't have to prove anything, I said. I'm not. She put one in the dining room and the other against the wall. Then she looked around the room as though memorizing it. Do you ever think about selling this place? What? The house. It's a lot for 2 people. We like it. I know. I just mean if things changed. What would change? She picked at a loose thread on the chair's sheet. Nothing. I pulled the fabric free. You're being weird. I have a headache. Go lie down. She hugged me. Vanessa was affectionate, but the timing startled me. Her arms locked tightly around my shoulders. I do love you, she said. I laughed against her hair. That sounds ominous. I'm serious. So am I. Never say I love you while staring at someone's house like it's their final visit. She let me go. You always make everything funny. No, Grant makes everything funny. I make things manageable. She smiled, but her eyes stayed frightened. She went upstairs and closed the guest room door. I took off the fitted sheets, lined the chairs along the dining room wall, and checked the time. Grant would be home soon. I considered ordering something besides pizza as a peace offering. At 3:40, Vanessa left the house without telling me. I heard the garage door open and saw her SUV back into the street. She did not answer when I texted asking where she was going. Grant arrived 20 minutes later. He came through the front door carrying his laptop bag and a manila folder. His face had the same terrible calm I would see later at Mom's dining table. Where is she? He asked. She went out. What's wrong? He looked toward the stairs, then set the folder on the entry table. We need to talk. My phone rang inside my pocket. Mom. I almost ignored it. Then it rang again. Grant shook his head. Let it go. She'll keep calling. Leah, please. I answered. Mom did not say hello. Your sister has done something incredibly brave, she said. Grant's eyes closed. What happened? She told the truth about feelings she did not choose. I looked at my husband. His laptop bag was still over one shoulder. One hand rested on the manila folder. What feelings? Mom took a breath. For Grant. For a moment, the word did not attach itself to anything. Grant was my husband. Vanessa was my sister. Feelings belonged in different rooms from those facts. What do you mean for Grant? Mom lowered her voice, as if she were protecting Vanessa from the conversation Vanessa had started. She realized she had developed an attachment. An attachment to my husband? Grant pulled the laptop bag from his shoulder and set it on the floor. Ask her about the emails, he said. Mom heard him. I know there were messages. Do you know what was in them? He asked. This is a conversation between me and Leah. No, Diane. Apparently it's a conversation between everyone except Leah. I held the phone tighter. Mom, where is Vanessa? With me. Of course she was. She was afraid to come home after Grant's response. What response? I don't know the exact language. It was very harsh. Grant opened the manila folder and took out several printed pages. I said, I love my wife. I have never been interested in her, and she needs to leave our house. Mom exhaled. You see? There was no reason to humiliate her. His head snapped up. Humiliate her. She made herself vulnerable. You could have shown some compassion. She offered to help me end my marriage. She told me she offered you emotional support. She gave me instructions. My mouth went dry. What instructions? I asked. Mom spoke before Grant could. Leah, Vanessa is distraught. She knows she crossed a line, but she came to me and admitted her feelings before anything physical happened. That matters. Physical? Nothing happened, Grant said. I didn't say it did. Mom made a wounded sound. No one is accusing him. You just congratulated her for stopping before she touched him. I said she was brave enough to be honest. With you, Grant said. Not with Leah. She was trying to find the right way. The right way was not emailing me a plan to leave my wife. I looked at the pages in his hand. The top sheet showed a block of text, too small for me to read from where I stood. "Grant," I said, "how long has she been emailing you?" He went still. That was the first moment I became afraid of his answer. Since the first night I slept downstairs. Mom said, "You see?" There was obviously an emotional situation developing. Grant took the phone from my hand. "No," he said. There was a married man sleeping in his own office and a guest who decided that was an invitation. "Give me the phone," I said. He handed it back immediately. Mom was speaking. Not suggesting he invited anything. I'm saying Vanessa was confused by the closeness in that house. What closeness? I don't know. You'll have to ask her. You called me. Because she was too frightened to. Then put her on. A pause. She's not in a condition to talk. I laughed, and the sound scared me. She had enough composure to email my husband all day. "Leah, don't become cruel because you're hurt." Grant turned away. That sentence hurt him, too. I saw it in his shoulders. "I have to go," I said. "We need to handle this as a family. No, I need to talk to my husband. Please remember your sister has lost a great deal recently." I ended the call. The house became quiet around us. The 2 basement chairs stood against the dining room wall, newly uncovered. Vanessa's gold pen lay beside the unfinished place cards. Grant held out the pages. "Read them." I didn't move. "Leah, I heard you. You asked how long, and you said since the first night you slept downstairs. The first email was an apology. It was inappropriate. But it wasn't." He stopped and corrected himself. I didn't understand what it was yet. What did it say? That she was sorry, that you shouldn't have to defend her, that she understood I was trying to protect you. "And you answered?" "Yes." A cold pressure moved through my chest. "What did you say?" "That we handle our marriage together, and she should keep household conversations in the group text." "Did you tell me?" "No." "Why?" "Because I thought I had shut it down." "But she emailed again." "Yes. And you still didn't tell me." "The second one came while we were dealing with your mother's dinner." I didn't answer. "That isn't what I asked." His mouth tightened. "No. I didn't tell you. I knew he had done nothing wrong with Vanessa. I knew it in the same bodily way I knew which stair creaked in our house. But trust did not cancel the pain of learning there had been a secret passage running beside my marriage while I walked around believing every wall was solid. What else did she say? "Read it." I looked at the top page and recognized Vanessa's name. I could not make myself touch it. "What did she say, Grant?" "She said I could leave you without your family turning me into a villain. Then she suggested that after enough time, she and I could see whether there was something between us." I gripped the back of a dining chair. He moved toward me. "Don't." He stopped. "Did you know she felt that way?" "No. Did you ever talk to her about us?" "Not privately." "That's not an answer." His face hardened. "She lived in our house, Leah. She heard us argue. She sat at our table. She asked questions in front of you. Did I ever discuss leaving you with her?" "No." "Did I ever suggest I wanted her?" "Absolutely not. What questions? Whether I was happy, whether I ever got tired of being the bad guy. I told her to stay out of it." "When?" "This morning. Before the clean exit email?" "Yes." The phrase made me flinch. It sounded sterile, like removing a stain. He set the pages on the dining table. I forwarded everything. I printed it. You can see every word I wrote. "I believe you," then read it. "I said I believe you." You're asking me questions the emails answer. Because I'm trying to hear my husband tell me what happened. I am telling you. No, you're submitting evidence. His expression changed. "Because your mother got to you first. She did not get to me. She called your sister brave before you knew what she'd done, and you knew for weeks that she was writing to you. 2 messages. 1 apology and 1 piece of amateur therapy I told her to stop sending. Today she crossed every line she could find. You should have told me after the first." "Yes." His agreement took the fight out of me. He rubbed his forehead. I should have. I thought it would become this. I looked around the dining room. This? Your mother defending her. Vanessa crying. You standing between everyone trying to translate. I'm not translating, not yet. Upstairs, Vanessa's lamps glowed through the open guest room door. Grant followed my eyes. She can't stay here, I know, I mean it, Leah. Her things go. She doesn't get to sleep across the hall and call this a misunderstanding. I said I know. He nodded. We packed her clothes in silence. Her suitcase was still in the front hall, so Grant brought it upstairs while I took dresses from the closet. The abandoned wedding gown hung behind them in its white bag. I lifted it carefully and laid it across the bed. Not that, I said. Why? It'll wrinkle in the suitcase. He stared at me. What? You're protecting her dress. It's expensive. She tried to dismantle our marriage, and crushing silk won't repair it. He looked away, jaw tight. I folded Vanessa's sweaters. Grant gathered her shoes without matching them. I matched them behind him, then hated myself for doing it. When the suitcase was full, he zipped it and carried it downstairs. Her phone charger was still plugged into the wall. Her reading glasses sat beside the bed. On the dresser was the silver cake knife, which Mom had apparently returned to Vanessa after all that urgency. I picked it up and almost laughed. The object that had started our first morning of disruption had traveled back into the room without me noticing. My phone rang again. Vanessa. Grant was downstairs. I answered. Hi, she whispered. I sat on the edge of the guest bed. What were you thinking? She began crying. Not cinematic crying, harsh, breathless sobs that made the question feel brutal. Please don't, I said. Just tell me. I thought you were unhappy. So you offered my husband a way out? I offered him kindness. You offered him yourself. No. He says you wrote that maybe something could happen later. I said maybe. I was trying to be honest about why I understood him. Understood what? How lonely he is. My hand tightened around the cake knife. You don't know how my husband feels. He talked to me. About leaving me? No. About wanting you? No. Then what are we discussing? Some things aren't said directly. There it was. A tiny opening left for doubt. Grant came into the room and saw the knife in my hand. He gently took it from me and set it on the dresser. Vanessa continued, the way he looked at me sometimes. No, Grant said loudly enough for her to hear. Do not do that. She went quiet. He's there? She asked. This is his house. I can't talk with him listening. He had to live with you listening. Leah, I never meant to hurt you. Did Mom know? A pause. We talked. About Grant. About feelings. Did she know you were going to email him? I told her I needed clarity. Grant shook his head. What did she say? I asked. That honesty is better than living a lie. I closed my eyes. Did she tell you it was okay to approach my husband? No, not like that. What does that mean? She said if two people are meant to be together, pretending otherwise only hurts everyone. Grant sat beside me, close but not touching. I need you to bring my things outside, Vanessa said. I can't face him. You were willing to face him after he left me. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair. Grant took the phone. Your suitcase will be on the porch in 20 minutes. Arrange a time for the rest. He ended the call. Vanessa stayed with Mom. The next morning, Mom sent me a message saying the birthday dinner was postponed because Vanessa was emotionally unwell. 2 hours later, she called to say postponing would let conflict win. By noon, she had invited Scott and Carol to a clearing of the air at her house that evening. Why is Carol involved? I asked. She already knows. Why does she already know? I needed perspective. You needed an audience. I need people who love both of you. Grant refused to go. I'm not sitting at a table while your mother negotiates which parts of this count, he said. I need to hear Vanessa answer me. You heard her. Not in person. The emails are in person. They came from her. I'm going. His face closed. Okay. I left without him. Mom had made lemon bars. Scott was already there, looking uncomfortable. Carol sat at the far end of the table with a napkin folded in her lap. Vanessa held a mug between both hands, pale and composed. Mom stood behind her with one hand on her shoulder. She told the truth before anything happened, Mom said. That took courage. The old clock ticked in the next room. Then the front door opened. Grant walked in carrying the envelope. He closed the door behind him and stood there for a second, taking in the table. Mom's hand on Vanessa, Scott with his arms folded, Carol in the lemon bars, me sitting alone on the side nearest the kitchen. "You came," I said. Grant's eyes met mine. I changed my mind. Mom straightened. "This was supposed to be a calm conversation. Then why did you invite witnesses? Carol is family." Carol made a small sound that suggested she had not expected that promotion. Grant took off his coat. Rain had darkened the shoulders. His tie was loose and his face looked exhausted. "I thought Leah might need the complete version," he said. He crossed the room and set the envelope in front of me. The metal clasp tapped the table. Mom's fingers tightened on Vanessa's shoulder. Private messages don't belong in a family discussion. Grant gave a short laugh with no humor in it. They do when the family discussion is built on lies. Vanessa's mug slipped against its saucer. "Grant," I said, "sit down. I'm fine. You're standing over everyone. I'm not the person who arranged the tribunal." "It's not a tribunal," Mom said. Scott looked around the table. "It has a little tribunal energy." Mom glared at him. I opened the clasp. The pages were printed in order. Grant had added the date and time to the top of each because, of course, he had. The first email looked almost harmless. Vanessa apologized for causing tension and said she hated seeing me caught between the people I loved. I read Grant's response. "Leah and I handle our marriage together. Please keep anything about the household in the group text. There was no warmth to reinterpret. No flirtation, not even a friendly sign-off." Vanessa leaned toward me. "That first message was an apology. I can read." "I know. I'm just giving context. The context is on the page." Grant moved to the chair beside me but did not sit. His hand rested on the back. The second email praised him for protecting me. The third said loyalty could become fear. The fourth contained the word admire, followed by a paragraph about how she felt more understood in our house than she ever had with Colin. She wrote that maybe, after enough time had passed, she and Grant could find out whether something honest existed between them. I stopped there. Carol stared at her folded napkin. Scott leaned forward. "Ness." "It wasn't a proposition," Vanessa said. "What would you call it?" Grant asked. "A confession. To a married man." I acknowledged a feeling. I specifically said nothing had to happen. "You outlined what could happen after I left Leah. I was trying not to be dishonest. You could have been honestly quiet." Mom drew herself up. "That's very easy to say when you're not the person struggling with the feeling." Grant looked at her. "She was sleeping in our guest room. That doesn't make her less human. No, it makes her our guest." Vanessa's chin trembled. I knew this would happen. "What?" I asked. "People would read what you wrote. You'd all turn it into something ugly. You offered him a future." I said maybe. "That word is doing a lot of work for you." Scott rubbed his mouth. "Did Grant ever tell you he felt the same?" Vanessa looked at Grant, then at me. Not directly. Grant's fingers tightened on the chair. Scott shook his head. "There isn't an indirectly here." "You weren't living with them," Vanessa said. "You didn't see how he looked at me." "I saw how he looked at you," I said, mostly like he wanted his hallway back. Carol made a startled coughing noise and reached for her water. Vanessa's eyes filled. "You don't have to humiliate me. You held my hand in a pharmacy parking lot while telling me my husband was always frustrated with me. I was worried about you. You were emailing him. I had not said anything romantic at that point. You had already told him you understood him better than I did. I never said better." I found the line and put my finger beneath it. "You're the only one in that house who seems to understand what Leah needs, even when she fights you for trying to give it to her." Vanessa looked away. Mom pulled out the chair beside her and sat. People say clumsy things when they're emotional. These aren't clumsy, Grant said. They're edited. You don't know that. They're emails, Diane. She chose every word. That's enough. No, I said. Everyone stopped. I turned to the next page. The clean exit message was longer than Grant's summary. Vanessa promised she could keep Mom from attacking him. She said she would remind Scott that marriages ended without villains. She said she could stay with me afterward so I wouldn't be alone, which was almost funny after 6 weeks of me making sure she wasn't alone. Then came the advice about timing. Wait until after Mom's birthday. Leah will already be emotional that day, and doing it before would make it look connected to me. Don't mention these emails. Just tell her the marriage has been dying slowly. I read those sentences aloud. Vanessa covered her face. Mom said, "Stop." I kept reading. I'll stay close to her. Mom already understands that sometimes love changes, and she won't let the family attack you. The room went silent. I set down the page. What did you understand, Mom? She looked at Vanessa. Look at me. Her eyes moved to mine. We spoke in general terms. About my husband? About her feelings. When? A few days ago. Vanessa lowered her hands. It wasn't a plan. You told Grant she already knew on the same day you supposedly confessed. I had talked to her before. Mom reached for her mug, realized it was Vanessa's, and withdrew her hand. What did she ask you? I said. Mom smoothed the tablecloth. She asked whether I thought people should deny a connection simply because the timing was wrong. And what did you say? I said feelings don't obey rules. Grant stepped back from the chair as though the answer had pushed him. I waited. That's all? I told her acting carelessly would hurt people. Did you tell her to stay away from my husband? I didn't think I needed to. Did you tell her to leave my house? No. Did you tell her that imagining a future with Grant was a betrayal of me? Mom's mouth tightened. She was already ashamed. That's not an answer. I was trying to keep her from spiraling. I looked at Vanessa. Her cheeks were wet, but she was watching Mom closely. You knew she was thinking about Grant, I said. You knew before today. I knew she felt something, and you called that brave. I called her honesty brave. She wasn't honest with me. She was working toward it. She was working toward my husband. Mom flinched. Vanessa stood so quickly the table shook. I never touched him. The words hung there. Grant's voice was very quiet. You don't get credit for that. I could have lied about all of it. You did lie, I said. You told me he was frustrated with me. You told me he watched me apologize. You repeated pieces of our arguments and changed what he said. You sat in my car and compared him to Colin while you were offering yourself as his replacement wife. I was trying to understand what was happening. You were trying to make something happen. No. Then why tell him not to mention the emails? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Scott pushed his chair back. Okay, that part, I don't understand that part. Vanessa looked at him desperately. Because Leah would panic before Grant knew what he wanted. He knew, Scott said. He told you. I thought he was afraid. Grant pulled one page from the stack and placed it in front of her. I love my wife. I have never expressed or felt romantic interest in you. Your suggestion is appalling. Which word left room? He asked. Mom stood. You've made your point. No, Grant said. My point was clear the first time. None of you wanted it to be. This is my house. And she was in mine. You're enjoying this. His face went blank. What? You arrived with printed pages. You wanted to shame her publicly. He didn't invite Carol, I said. Carol set down her napkin. I think I should go. Mom turned to her. Please don't make this more dramatic. Carol stared at her. Diane, you told me Vanessa admitted feelings after Grant had been confiding in her. I looked at Mom. That is not what I said. You said there had been emotional intimacy. Vanessa felt there had. That distinction was not clear. Carol picked up her purse. "I'm sorry, Leah." She left without taking any lemon bars. Scott watched the front door close. "Mom, why would you tell her that? I needed someone neutral. You gave her a version that made Grant responsible. I was trying to explain the complexity." "There is no complexity," Grant said. Mom's face hardened. "Every marriage has complexity. I knew what came next before she said it. You two were already having problems." The sentence landed with a dull finality. Grant looked at me, not her. Vanessa sat down again. "That's all I was trying to say." I turned toward her. "You were staying with us because Colin left you," she recoiled. "I gave you the room across from mine. Grant carried your boxes. We fed you, listened to you, changed our routines, and let you stay after you stopped even pretending there was a plan. Then you used the worst week in my marriage as an audition. That is disgusting." "Yes," I said, "it is." Mom stepped between us, not physically enough to block my view, but enough to show me where she stood. "Leah, she is still your sister, and he is still my husband. No one says he isn't. You were willing to find out." Her face crumpled. "I knew you would survive." The room went still again. It was the most honest thing she had said all night. I felt something inside me settle, not break, exactly. Broken things could be repaired. This was more like a door reaching the end of its swing. "And Vanessa wouldn't?" I asked. Mom looked at her. She was in a very dark place. "So you let her reach for my life." "I did not let her do anything. You told her feelings don't obey rules." "They don't. People do." Mom shook her head. "You're simplifying this because you're angry. No, you made it simple a long time ago. She hurts, I adjust. She wants, I share. She breaks something, I understand." Scott looked down at the table. Mom's voice softened. "You've always been stronger." "There it is. It's not an insult. It's not love either." Vanessa whispered my name. I gathered the emails and put them back in the envelope. "The birthday dinner is canceled." Mom blinked. "What?" "There will be no dinner at my house. Leah, that is separate." "It was never separate. It was just another thing I was supposed to carry while everyone congratulated Vanessa for offering to take my husband off my hands. That's cruel. I'm learning." I stood. Grant picked up my coat from the back of the chair and held it for me. I put it on without looking at him. Mom followed us to the entryway. "We cannot leave this like this." "I can. Vanessa's things are still at your house. We'll arrange a time. She can't face Grant. Then Scott can collect them." Scott called from the dining room. "Sure." The surprise on Mom's face told me she had expected him to remain decorative. "Leah," she said, "please don't punish the whole family." I opened the door. "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm going home." Grant and I walked through the rain to his truck. We sat without starting the engine. Water moved in silver lines down the windshield. "You came without me," he said. "You kept the emails from me." Both sentences were true. Neither one apologized for the other. My phone began ringing. "Mom." I watched her name glow between us until the call stopped. Then it started again. For the first time in my life, I turned the phone completely off. Grant started the truck, but didn't put it in gear. The heater blew cold air at our feet. Rain tapped the roof hard enough to fill the silence without helping it. "Did you believe me?" he asked. "Yes." "Before I came?" "Yes." He looked through the windshield. "Then why did you go there without me?" "Because believing you and understanding what my mother knew were two different things. You could have read the emails." "I did. At their table." I needed her face. His hand tightened around the steering wheel. "I needed to see if she could look at me and say it," I continued. "She could. That was worth letting them sit you down like you were the problem?" "No." He looked at me. "I didn't know that until I was sitting there." The heater began producing warm air. Grant shifted the vents toward me without comment. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the first message," he said. "I'm not ready to make you feel better about that. I'm not asking you to. I know why you waited. That doesn't make it okay. No. He nodded. We drove home with the envelope on my lap. The house looked different when we entered. Not ruined. Worse than ruined. Normal. Vanessa's suitcase waited near the stairs. Her lamps glowed upstairs. A mug sat in the sink with a faint crescent of her lipstick on the rim. She had left a pair of silver earrings beside the bowl where Grant kept his keys. Our life had been invaded by objects too ordinary to hate properly. Grant took off his coat. Do you want me upstairs tonight? The question hurt. It's your bedroom. That's not what I asked. I put the envelope on the dining table. I don't know what I want. Okay. He picked up the suitcase and carried it into the front hall. I sat down with the emails. Reading them privately was worse. At Mom's house, anger had protected me. Every page had been something to defend against. Alone, I saw the details. Vanessa had quoted the line Grant used during our argument about me needing to be needed. She told him she had heard it from upstairs and that she understood why he had finally said it. She mentioned hearing him pace in the office beneath her room. She wrote that she had almost come downstairs because no one should have to sit alone while the person they loved chose everybody else. She had not stumbled into a feeling. She had listened for weaknesses. There were little observations about me that might have sounded loving to anyone who did not know their source. Leah carries pain in her jaw. Leah cleans when she's afraid. Leah apologizes before she asks for what she wants. Things I had told my sister, things she had watched, things she turned into evidence that my husband knew me better than I knew myself, and she knew him better than I did. Then the instructions. Wait until after Mom's birthday. Don't mention these emails. Say the marriage has been dying slowly. By the time I reached Grant's response, I was shaking. He had written exactly what he said he wrote. No softness, no opening. He had told her he loved me and ordered her to stop. The next message from Vanessa was not an apology so much as a revision. She claimed she had frightened him because she had said aloud what he was not ready to admit. She assured him he did not have to feel ashamed. I heard a floorboard creak. Grant stood in the dining room doorway. She wouldn't let you refuse her, I said. No. Every no became fear. Yes. She did that to Colin. He waited. I thought he was cold, I said. She used to tell me he shut down whenever she got close to the truth. Maybe he just got tired of arguing with whatever she decided he meant. I don't know. It was a careful answer. Grant disliked Colin, but he wasn't going to recruit a man he barely knew into his side of the story. Why did you print them? Because your mother was already calling them private feelings. I wanted something they couldn't rephrase. You keep records. I notice things. Usually that line made me smile. I folded the pages along the exact creases Grant had made and put them back into the envelope. I'm sorry, I said. For what? I could have listed so many things that the question felt impossible. For making our home a place where she could study us. You didn't know. You did. Not this, but something. You kept telling me she was in the middle, and you kept telling me she was hurt. She was hurt. I know. His answer was gentle, which made me cry. Not dramatically. I just sat there while tears ran down my face and landed on my hands. Grant pulled out the chair beside me. Can I touch you? I nodded. He put one arm around me. I leaned into him, but not all the way. The emails were still on the table. The office pillow was still downstairs. The truth had defended our marriage without repairing it. We slept in the same bed that night on opposite sides. When I turned on my phone in the morning, I had 14 missed calls. 6 from Mom, 3 from Vanessa, 2 from Scott, 1 from Carol, 2 from a number I recognized as the caterer. There were 31 text messages. Mom's began with, "Please call me," and moved through. You misunderstood what I meant before arriving at, "I will not apologize for loving both my daughters." Vanessa's were shorter. "I'm sorry. I never wanted to take anything from you. Please don't let one terrible mistake erase us." Her choice of one impressed me. Scott had written, "Call me when awake. Need logistics." Carol sent no message. The caterer had left a voicemail asking whether the salmon dinner was canceled or merely changing locations. I was listening to it when Grant came downstairs. "We lose the deposit," I said. "How much?" I told him. He winced. "Expensive boundary. I've paid more for worse. Have you?" "No." I was trying to sound evolved. He poured coffee. I called the caterer and canceled. The woman was kind about it, which nearly made me cry again. She explained that the deposit was non-refundable because they had already ordered some ingredients, but they could convert part of it into prepared meals delivered to another address. For one dangerous second, I started solving Mom's birthday. Then I said, "No, thank you. Please donate whatever you can use to your staff and cancel the rest." Grant looked at me over the coffee pot. "What?" "Nothing." "Don't make it a ceremony." "I wasn't. You were witnessing." I was quietly standing in my kitchen. I called the bakery next. The cake had not been started, so they refunded half the payment. Then I deleted the spreadsheet. It was a small thing, a file disappearing from my laptop, yet my hand hovered over the confirmation button as if I were authorizing demolition. Scott arrived at 11 in a borrowed pickup truck. He came inside wearing work gloves that still had the price tag attached. "I'm here for Vanessa's stuff. It's upstairs." He looked at the suitcase in the hall. I thought that was it. Grant and I both laughed. Scott frowned. "What? Nothing," I said. "Use your legs." We carried down the lamps, baskets, garment bags, framed print, mixer, and shoes. Scott's expression changed with every trip. "She brought all this?" "She acquired some of it here." He held up a decorative pillow. "Whose is this?" "Mine." "Why is it with her things?" "She liked it." He handed it to me. On the third trip, he stopped in the guest room and looked around. The wedding dress lay across the bed in its white bag. Vanessa's reading glasses were on the nightstand. The room smelled like her shampoo. "She really moved in," he said. "Yes." Mom made it sound like Grant threw her out with a toothbrush. Mom has always valued editing. Scott rubbed the back of his neck. "She wants me to host the birthday dinner." I looked at him. "I don't have 12 chairs," he added quickly. "Neither does Mom, apparently. That's why those two came from her basement." His eyes moved toward the dining room. "Could I take them?" "Yes." Relief brightened his face. "And everything else you'll need is on the spreadsheet Vanessa made. Can you send it?" I deleted it. His face fell so honestly that I almost offered to rebuild it. Almost. "The caterer is canceled," I said. "The cake is canceled. Carol and Jim may not be coming." "Why not?" "Ask Carol. Mom said the whole thing got blown out of proportion." Grant entered carrying the mixer box. Scott looked at him. "I don't mean the emails. I mean the dinner." "It's the same dinner," Grant said. "How?" "Because Leah was doing all the work while everyone discussed whether Vanessa should take her husband." Scott removed one glove and tugged the price tag from the other. "I'm not defending her. You're asking Leah to hand you the machinery that keeps your mother comfortable," Grant said. "That's defense with extra steps." "Grant," I said. "No, he's right," Scott said, surprising me. Grant looked surprised too. Scott bent the cardboard tag back and forth. "I didn't know Mom had talked to Vanessa before the emails. She told me Vanessa confessed after Grant shut her down. She changes the order until nobody is responsible," I said. He nodded slowly. Then he looked at the boxes. "So, what do I do about dinner?" The question was so perfectly Scott that I laughed. He smiled, relieved. "That's a good sign." "It isn't." "Oh." "Call a restaurant." "For 12 people?" "Yes." "On her birthday weekend?" "Yes." He put the glove back on. "You make it sound simple." "It is simple. It's just not easy for you." We loaded the truck. Before Scott left, I went to the kitchen drawer and took out the key to Mom's house. It was attached to a brass tag Dad had stamped Diane's in uneven letters. I held it out. "What's that?" "Mom's spare key." "Why are you giving it to me?" "Because I'm not doing emergency coverage." His hand stayed at his side. "What does that mean?" "It means when she locks herself out, needs someone to meet a repairman, forgets whether she turned off the stove, or decides a noise in the attic is urgent, she calls the person holding the key." Scott stared at it as though it were a live insect. I live 25 minutes away. I know. You live 15. 10 minutes has cost me years. He looked toward Grant, hoping for help. Grant studied the truck bed. Finally, Scott took the key. Is this temporary? I don't know. Mom called while he was still in the driveway. I answered because I wanted to know whether I could. Scott says you gave him my key, she said. Yes. What if I need you? Then you can ask. I can say yes or no. You've never needed permission to come into my house. That isn't what the key was for. It was trust. It was labor. She went quiet. Then she said, I'm sorry the conversation became hurtful. I leaned against the closed front door. What are you sorry you did? I just said I was sorry. You said the conversation became hurtful. What did you do? I tried to support both my daughters. What did you do, Mom? Her breathing changed. I should not have used the word brave. That's one word. What do you want from me? I want you to name what you protected. I protected Vanessa from doing something reckless. She had already done it. I did not know what she wrote. You knew enough. This is punishment. No, this is me not coming over Sunday. We always have lunch Sunday. Not this Sunday. Then when? I don't know. She began to cry. For once, I did not rush in to stop it. I love you, I said. I'm ending this call. Grant was still in the entryway when I turned around. You were witnessing again, I said. A little. That evening, he brought home a rotisserie chicken. He set it on the counter between us. I remembered the protocol, he said. I laughed, then covered my face and cried. He held me while the chicken cooled. The next morning, Mom left a voicemail saying Scott had reserved the wrong restaurant and Vanessa was too upset to help fix it. I listened all the way to the end. Then I put the phone down and did nothing. Doing nothing took the entire morning. I carried the phone from room to room as if the voicemail might change if I kept it near me. While I showered, I imagined Mom sitting at her kitchen table waiting. While I dressed, I pictured Scott calling restaurants and getting impatient. On the drive to work, I nearly returned her call at 3 different stoplights. At 9:12, Scott texted. Solved it. Restaurant can do 8:30 instead of 6. Mom says that's too late. I typed 3 answers and deleted them. At 9:26, do you remember whether Carol is allergic to shellfish or just hates it? I put the phone in my desk drawer. At 10:03, never mind, called Carol. The last message irritated me, not because he had solved the problem, but because the solution had been available to him the whole time. I had mistaken everyone's preference for asking me for their inability to do things themselves. At lunch, I opened Vanessa's email. She had sent it at 3:14 that morning with the subject line, I am not asking you to forgive me, which felt less like a subject and more like a legal disclaimer. I read the first paragraph, stopped, then started again. She wrote that she had spent years watching me receive the things she could never keep. A calm home, a patient husband, routines that did not collapse every time someone's feelings changed. She said she knew those things had not simply appeared for me. I had built them. But being inside our house had made her feel, for the first time, what it was like to belong somewhere steady. Then she wrote, I started believing the steadiness was Grant. I sat back from my desk. That sentence was more honest than anything she had said at Mom's table. The next paragraph ruined it. She said Grant had made her feel seen. She said she had confused his attention with possibility. She admitted he had never touched her or directly encouraged her, but insisted there had been moments when she believed he felt something too. She still needed the fantasy to have 2 authors. At the end, she wrote, I didn't want your life. I wanted to know what it felt like to be chosen inside one. I closed the email without answering. That night, I showed it to Grant. He read it standing at the kitchen counter. She says you paid attention to her, I said. I did. The answer pinched. He looked up. She lived here. I paid attention to where she parked, Whether she ate, whether she was crying in the living room, I was not attracted to her. I know. You keep saying that in a way that sounds like there's a but. There isn't a but. There's something. I took the phone back. She described our house as steady. It was. Was? It still can be. The correction did not soothe me. Grant rubbed both hands over the counter's edge. I'm angry at her, I said. I'm angry at Mom. Then I read this and start wondering what I gave Vanessa that made her think she could climb into my marriage. You gave her a room. I gave her access. That's not consent. I know that in theory. In reality, too. She knew things about us. Because we argued where she could hear. Because I told her things. You were her sister. I made you live with someone who was collecting pieces of us. He looked down. You did warn me, I said. Yes. The word came too fast. I stared at him. His face changed. I'm sorry. No, you are not. I'm sorry I said it like that. You liked being right. I hated being right. That's not what I said. He leaned against the counter. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Part of me liked it, he admitted. Not the emails, not what she did. But when your mother defended her and Scott saw it and Carol heard the truth, part of me thought, finally, I'm not the difficult one. The honesty hurt, but it did not insult me. You wanted witnesses too, I said. Yes. Then don't act like printing the emails was only for me. It wasn't. We stood on opposite sides of the kitchen island, both less innocent than we had been a minute earlier and somehow closer. I made an appointment with a counselor, he said. You did what? For us. I haven't confirmed it. You made an appointment without asking me? I requested a time. That's an appointment. It's Thursday at 6. I folded my arms. We don't have to go, he said. Is she beige? What? The office. I need to know if this is corporate healing. His mouth twitched. The website has a lot of stones stacked on other stones. That's not promising. We can cancel. No. Confirm it. The counselor's name was Dr. Alana Pierce. She was in her 50s, wore red glasses, and had no decorative stones in her actual office. Instead, she had a knitted cactus on the shelf and a bowl of mints so strong they made my eyes water. She asked why we were there. Grant looked at me. I looked at him. My sister tried to recruit him out of our marriage, I said. Dr. Pierce waited. My mother endorsed the application. Grant laughed unexpectedly, then apologized. Dr. Pierce did not seem shocked, which I resented. I wanted at least one professional to say, "Good Lord." She asked Grant why he had not shown me the first email, because I thought Leah would minimize it. Would she have? Yes, he said. I said, probably. Dr. Pierce looked at me. What's it like to hear that? Efficient. That wasn't the question. It feels terrible. It feels like he decided I couldn't be trusted with my own sister. Grant shifted beside me. I decided I didn't want another fight. Same thing. No. You protected yourself from my reaction. Yes. Dr. Pierce turned to him. And what did delaying cost? My wife found out after her mother had already framed the story. He said it without defending himself. That mattered. When the session ended, we sat in the parking lot eating 2 of Dr. Pierce's violent mints. I hate that she was reasonable, I said. I know. I wanted her to declare a winner. I won. I looked at him. He smiled carefully. Too soon? By several years. We went to a diner instead of home. Our phones stayed face down on the table. Mom called during dinner. I watched the screen light up and go dark. Grant did not look at it. That was new. Before, he would have looked at the phone, then at me, turning the call into a test even if he never said a word. This time, he asked whether I wanted the last onion ring. I always want the last onion ring. Then why do you act surprised? I need to believe you offer freely. He pushed the plate toward me. Mom's birthday dinner happened without us. I sent her a card and the blue blouse I had bought weeks earlier. No flowers, because flowers would have required me to remember delivery timing. No phone call that morning because I knew it would become a negotiation about the evening. At 4, Mom texted, "There will be an empty chair for you." I did not answer. At 7:30, Scott sent a photo of the restaurant table. There were 8 people, not 12. Mom sat in the center wearing the blouse I sent. Vanessa was beside her in a black dress, smiling with her lips and not her eyes. Carol and Jim had not come. The table had no flowers. The cake was chocolate instead of almond. They appeared to be surviving. At 9:46, Scott called. I answered because the dinner was over. Mom says thank you for the blouse. She can call me herself. She says, "You're not taking her calls." I took one 3 days ago. You know what I mean. "How was dinner?" He exhaled. "Fine." "Fine, good, or fine, Mom?" "Fine, expensive." I smiled. "The reservation got screwed up," he said. "They had us at 2 tables until a manager fixed it. Vanessa was late because she and Mom fought about the cake." "What about the cake?" "Vanessa forgot Dad hated chocolate. Dad loved chocolate." "That's what I said. Mom insists he only ate it to be polite. Dad ate frosting out of the container. Again, that's what I said." We were both quiet. Then Scott said, "They're not doing great together." "Who?" "Mom and Vanessa." I knew who. I wanted him to say it. Vanessa's stuff is everywhere. Mom wants her to unpack. Vanessa says unpacking makes it feel permanent. They got into it because Mom keeps going into the guest room to collect towels. How many towels does Vanessa use? Apparently, all of them. I laughed before I could stop myself. Scott did too. The sound felt disloyal and familiar. "Mom misses you," he said. "I miss her." "Then what are we doing?" "I'm waiting for missing me to become less important than understanding why I left the table." "She understands." "No. She understands that I'm angry." "What's the difference?" "You'll find out." Mom did not call the next day. Instead, she arrived at our house carrying half a chocolate cake. I knew she was there because the garage keypad beeped twice, followed by a longer rejection tone. We had changed the code. She came around to the front and rang the bell. Grant was in the guest room taking down Vanessa's lamps. He looked toward the hall. "I'll handle it," I said. "Do you want me nearby?" "Yes." I opened the door, but did not step aside. Mom held the cake beneath a clear plastic dome. "You changed the code." "Yes, you could have told me. I'm telling you now." She looked past me. "Can I come in?" My body almost moved automatically. I held the door. "Not today." Her face tightened. "I brought cake. You can take it home. I don't want it in my house. It reminds Vanessa of the argument. Then throw it away. Your father loved chocolate." I nearly laughed. "I know." She looked smaller than she had at the dining room table. Not weak, just older. I saw the soft skin beneath her chin, the rain spots on her shoes, the lipstick bleeding into the lines around her mouth. Love did not disappear because I had learned what it cost me. "I'm sorry you missed my birthday," she said. "I didn't miss it. I chose not to come. That's a cruel distinction. It's an honest one." Her eyes filled. "I feel like I've lost one daughter and the other is punishing me for trying to save her. You haven't lost either of us." Vanessa barely leaves the guest room. That isn't losing her. And you won't let me inside. That isn't losing me either. What is it then? A locked door. She stared at me. "You still have my number," I said. "You can call. You can apologize. You can ask how I am without asking me to fix Vanessa. I don't know what words you want. That's the problem." She held out the cake. I did not take it. Finally, she set it on the porch table. As she walked back to her car, I had to grip the edge of the door to keep from calling her back. Grant came up behind me but did not touch me until I reached for his hand. We stood there watching Mom drive away. The cake remained outside. An hour later, it began to rain and neither of us rescued it. The cake collapsed sometime before morning. Rain seeped beneath the plastic dome, turning the frosting pale and swollen. One side slid away from the layers and pressed against the clear lid like mud against a window. Grant found me standing over it in my bathrobe. "You don't have to eat it," he said. "I know. You're looking at it like disposal is a moral decision. That is how I look at all waste. It's wet cake. It was expensive wet cake." He took the entire thing, dome and all, and carried it to the trash. I let him. That became the shape of the next few weeks. Small things I let happen. I let Mom's calls go to voicemail. I let Scott meet the technician when her washing machine started making a grinding noise. I let Vanessa arrange her own mail, forwarding after 3 envelopes arrived at our house. When Mom texted that she hadn't slept because she was worried about the distance between us, I did not drive over to relieve her worry. None of it felt powerful. It felt like standing beside an alarm and refusing to turn it off. At work, I checked my phone more often than before. I kept expecting a real emergency to prove I had chosen the worst possible moment to grow boundaries. Every unknown number tightened my chest. Grant noticed. He did not tell me to block anyone. He didn't take my phone or lecture me about the pattern. He bought a little wooden box at a home goods store and put it on the kitchen counter. "What's this?" I asked. "A phone box. It looks like a recipe box. It was labeled recipe box. So you lied." I repurposed. We put our phones inside during dinner. The first night, I opened the lid twice. The second night, once. By the end of the week, I could hear my phone buzz beneath the wood and keep eating. Grant's phone went in too. That mattered more than he understood until I told him. "I thought this was about your mother calling," he said. "It's about us deciding the rule together." He nodded. Then he put the box on the dining room sideboard so neither of us sat closer to it. Dr. Pierce gave us homework. She asked each of us to name one thing we had done during the conflict that we would not defend. Grant went first. I used something Leah told me after her father's funeral to win an argument. "You were trying to make a point," I said. He looked at me. "See? She'll defend me before I can finish admitting it." Dr. Pierce wrote something down. I hated when she did that. Her notes made our habits seem real. Grant continued. "I knew it would hurt her. I said it anyway. When it was my turn, I stared at the knitted cactus. I made him prove the truth in front of people who had already decided his anger was the problem. 'You didn't make me come,' he said. 'I made not coming mean you left me alone.'" He rubbed his hands together. Dr. Pierce asked what we wanted to do differently. I said, "No one lives in our house unless we both invite them." Grant said, "I tell Leah when someone crosses a boundary involving her, even if I think she'll respond badly." I turned to him. "You're allowed to think I'll respond badly. I'm aware. You just shouldn't decide for me." "I know." Dr. Pierce stopped writing. "What?" I asked. "Nothing. That was witnessing." She smiled. A little. We cleared the guest room on a Saturday. There was less left than I expected. A handful of bent hangers, an event badge under the dresser, one pearl earring that wasn't mine, a stack of tissue paper Vanessa had saved from boutique shopping bags. The room looked larger without her things. Grant pulled the guest bed away from the wall. "What are we doing with this?" he asked. "I don't want another guest room." "Ever?" "Not right now. We could turn it into something." "Like what?" He looked around. "A room no one needs." The idea felt almost obscene. We sold the bed to a couple who picked it up that afternoon. I expected to feel guilty for removing the place where family could stay. Instead, when the mattress passed through the front door, I felt the house exhale. We painted the walls a muted green that Vanessa would have called emotionally gray. Grant set up a wide work table beneath the window for my sewing machine, which had lived in a closet since we moved in. On the opposite wall, we built shelves for his architectural models and the boxes of vinyl records Dad had left me. The first evening we used the room, I hemmed a pair of pants while Grant tried to assemble a miniature suspension bridge. "You build real buildings all day," I said. "Then you come home and build tiny ones. Tiny buildings have fewer meetings." The bridge collapsed. I looked at it. "Say nothing." "I wasn't going to. You had a face. This is my face." He threw a wooden support at me. It bounced off my shoulder. I laughed so hard I sewed the hem crooked. Scott began calling less often, not because Mom needed less, because he started answering his own questions before dialing. Once he called while sitting in the parking lot of an appliance store. Mom wants the expensive washer because it has a steam setting. Okay, does she need a steam setting? You're the one at the store. I know. I heard myself as I was asking. I smiled. Growth. It's terrible. I understand why you avoided it. I didn't avoid it. Right. You were addicted to it. The comment was accurate enough to sting. He heard my silence. Sorry. No, you're right. I don't think you liked doing everything. Sometimes I did. Why? Because then no one could say I wasn't useful. Scott sat with that. Mom has always made useful sound like loved, he said. It was the most perceptive thing I had ever heard him say. How are things with Vanessa? I asked. Bad. He told me she had returned to her apartment after a fight over towels, dishes, and whether keeping wedding gifts boxed in Mom's dining room was processing or storage. Vanessa accused Mom of treating her like a patient. Mom accused Vanessa of leaving every room half-finished. They need you, Scott said. No, they need a third person. Same difference historically. Not anymore. He sighed. I know. Vanessa asked to meet me 6 weeks after the emails. She sent a text with no pleading and no mention of forgiveness. I have your green sweater. Also, I owe you an answer that isn't self-defense. Coffee, if you're willing. I showed Grant. He read it twice. What do you think? I asked. I think you want to go. That wasn't my question. I don't trust her. Neither do I. But I trust you. It should not have felt like permission. I knew that. Still, I appreciated it. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our apartments. Vanessa was already seated with the green sweater folded on the chair beside her. She looked thinner. Her hair was shorter, cut just below her jaw. Without the familiar curls around her face, I could not predict her expressions as easily. She stood when I approached. For one terrible second, we both moved as though we might hug. Then we sat. She pushed the sweater toward me. I washed it. You didn't have to. I spilled coffee on it. Then you did. Her mouth twitched. A server came. I ordered tea because choosing coffee after the sweater comment felt too symbolic. Vanessa wrapped both hands around her cup. I practiced this, she said. I assumed. I'm trying not to turn it into a performance. That must be uncomfortable. Yes? The direct answer disarmed me. She looked down. Grant never encouraged me. I waited. I knew that after his first response. Maybe before. The coffee shop continued around us, milk steaming, cups touching saucers, a man at the counter arguing politely about oat milk. Then why did you keep writing? Because he rejected the version of me I had started believing in. What version? The one who understood him. The one who could give him what you wouldn't. What wouldn't I give him? Peace. Attention. A life that didn't revolve around Mom. I felt my fingers tighten around the paper wrapper on my tea bag. Vanessa saw. I know how that sounds. It sounds like you still think you were offering something. I'm explaining what I told myself, then explain the part where you planned how he should leave me. She swallowed. I was angry. At me? At both of you. Why? Because you had what I wanted and still fought over it. The answer was ugly and human. She continued before I could speak. I watched him ask you to choose your marriage, and you kept choosing Mom. I thought if you didn't value him enough, maybe that meant he was available? Yes. The word came out almost soundless. And Mom? I asked her questions I already knew how to phrase so she'd give me the answer I wanted. That sounded like Vanessa. It also sounded like Mom. Did she know you were going to contact him? She knew I wanted to tell him how I felt. Did she tell you not to? No. Did she encourage you? Vanessa stared into her coffee. She said you would survive if your marriage ended. The same word again. Survive. As though endurance were a gift I kept selfishly refusing to share. What did you say? I said that wasn't the point. Was that before or after you emailed him? Before. I looked out the window. A woman across the street was trying to open an umbrella against the wind. It kept turning inside out. I'm sorry, Vanessa said. Not for having feelings. I can't apologize for a feeling. You can apologize for feeding it. She nodded. I'm sorry I watched your marriage like it was evidence. I'm sorry I used what you told me. I'm sorry I tried to make Grant doubt what he knew. I'm sorry I let Mom protect me from what I did. It was the closest she had come to naming it. I wanted to feel relief. Instead, I felt tired. What happens now? She asked. I don't know. Can I call you? Not yet. Her eyes filled, but she did not look away. Will there be a yet? I don't know. She nodded. For once, she let my uncertainty remain mine. When I got home, Grant was in the studio sanding a tiny bridge support. How was it? He asked. Hard. Did she apologize? Yes. Did it help? A little. He set down the sandpaper. I walked into his arms. Mom sent me a letter the following week. It was 6 pages long. She wrote about loving us differently because we needed different things. She wrote about Dad, Vanessa's broken engagement, and how frightened she had been that our family would split apart. She apologized for using the word brave and for inviting Carol without asking me. She did not apologize for encouraging Vanessa. She did not mention telling her I would survive. At the end, she asked me to come for Sunday lunch, just the two of us. She promised Vanessa would not be there and the emails would not be discussed. I read that sentence 3 times. Then I called her. I'll come, I said. Her relief rushed through the phone. Oh, sweetheart, we can finally put this behind us. I'm not coming to put it behind us. Silence. Then why are you coming? To find out whether you can name what happened without me doing it for you. On Sunday, Mom set the table for 2. I could see it through the dining room window when I walked up the path. Her good dishes, cloth napkins, the old clock keeping its dishonest 5-minute lead. She opened the door before I knocked. For the first time since I was a child, I stepped into my mother's house without a key. Mom hugged me before I had decided whether I wanted to hug her. Her arms closed around me carefully, as if I were recovering from an injury she had been advised not to mention. You look thin, she said. I'm not. Well, you look tired. Good to see you too. She smiled too brightly. I made the cucumber salad you like. I did not particularly like cucumber salad. Dad had liked it. Somewhere along the way, one of us had inherited his preference because Mom could not bear for a recipe to become unnecessary. The house smelled like roast beef and furniture polish. She had lit the candles on the dining room table, even though it was noon. 2 wine glasses stood beside the good plates. I'm driving, I said. So am I. You live here. I might go to Carol's later. She took away both wine glasses. We sat. Mom served me before serving herself. The plate was too full, another habit disguised as affection. For a few minutes, we talked about safe things. My job, Scott's washing machine research, the weather. Mom had heard from him that we had changed the guest room. A studio, she said. That sounds nice. It is. Your father would have liked that you kept his records. I always kept his records. I know. I meant that you're listening to them. Her correction surprised me. She asked whether Grant was still seeing that marriage woman. Her name is Dr. Pierce, and we both see her. That's what I meant. We're still going. Mom cut a potato into 6 increasingly small pieces. I hope you know I never wanted trouble between you and Grant. I put down my fork. She noticed. I'm not trying to start, she said. I'm saying I'm glad you two are working things out. We didn't have trouble because Vanessa found it. We had trouble, and she used it. I understand, do you? Her knife stopped. I wrote you 6 pages. You wrote around the thing I asked you to name. I apologized for the word brave, for inviting Carol. Those were the things I did wrong. I waited. Mom picked up her napkin, pressed it to the corner of her mouth, and folded it again. I should have come to you as soon as Vanessa mentioned her feelings. Yes. I should have told her to leave your house. Yes. I didn't know she had sent those messages. You knew she planned to tell Grant. I knew she wanted clarity. The phrase was Vanessa's. What did you think clarity would look like? I assumed Grant would tell her she was mistaken. He did. Then she should have stopped. But before he did, you gave her permission to try. I did not give permission. You told her people shouldn't deny a connection because the timing was wrong. Mom looked toward the window. I was speaking generally, about a specific married man. She was distraught, so you said something comforting. Yes. Was it true? What? Did you believe she and Grant had a connection? No. The answer came quickly. I leaned back. Then why tell her not to deny it? Because she needed to work through what she was feeling. By contacting him? I didn't tell her to email him. Did you tell her not to? Mom's eyes filled with frustration. You keep asking the same question in different ways, because you keep answering a different one. I cannot be responsible for every interpretation Vanessa makes. No, you're responsible for yours. She stood and carried her plate to the kitchen, though she had barely eaten. I stayed at the table. Cabinet doors opened. Water ran. Mom did things noisily when silence stopped obeying her. She returned with the roast beef, even though neither of us had asked for more. Eat, she said. I'm not hungry. You hardly touched anything. Mom. She set down the platter. I don't know what you want me to say. I told you on the phone. You want me to use words that make me sound monstrous. I want you to use words that make what you did sound real. It was real. It was a mistake. What mistake? She sat again. I comforted the wrong person. The answer was close enough to hurt. Why was she the wrong person? Because you were the one who got hurt. I was already the one she was betraying. Mom's face tightened. You knew that before the emails, I said. You knew she was thinking about my husband, and your first concern was that she shouldn't feel ashamed. She had just lost Colin. I know. She was barely functioning. She was working, planning your birthday, ordering napkins, and emailing my husband a separation schedule. I did not know about the schedule. You knew she wanted him. Mom lowered her voice. Feelings are not actions. Encouragement is. She pushed her plate away. All right, I should have shut it down. Why didn't you? I told you. She was fragile. And I wasn't? You have Grant. The answer came so naturally that neither of us breathed for a second. There it was again. The family math. Vanessa was alone, so she could reach for what I had. I had something worth taking, which proved I required less protection. You were willing to risk Grant because I already had him. No, you assumed he would reject her. Yes, and you assumed I would survive knowing she tried. Mom's face crumpled. I never thought you would find out like that. The honesty was worse than denial. How did you think I'd find out? I thought she would talk to him. He would make it clear nothing could happen, and she would move on. So the betrayal was acceptable if I never knew. I didn't think of it as betrayal. What did you think it was? A feeling. With an email address. Mom stood again, then sat back down. I was afraid, she said. Of what? That if I told her she was horrible for feeling it, she would disappear from us. She does that. She leaves. She shuts everyone out and makes decisions she can't undo. She moved 15 minutes away from you. You know what I mean? I do. Vanessa makes distance visible. I don't. Mom looked at me. I continued. When she pulls away, you chase her. When I stay, you assume I can be hurt safely. I've never thought you were safe to hurt. You told her I would survive. She flinched as though she had forgotten Vanessa told me. I was trying to reassure her that her feelings had not destroyed your life. She hadn't sent the emails yet. Mom's mouth opened, then closed. The old clock ticked in the living room, 5 minutes ahead and still somehow late. You were reassuring her about what she might destroy, I said. I knew Grant loved you. So did she. He told her. That's why I never believed anything would actually happen. I felt the door inside me reach its limit again. You gambled with something you believed couldn't be lost. I did not gamble with your marriage. You let Vanessa knock on the door because you trusted Grant to keep it closed." Mom's lips trembled. "That is not the same as wanting her to go through it. I didn't say you wanted it. I said you protected her while she tried." She looked down at her hands. For a few seconds, I thought she might say it. Instead, she whispered, "I love you both." I closed my eyes. That sentence has excused a lot. What am I supposed to say? That I love her less? No, that loving her did not require sacrificing me. I did not sacrifice you. You keep proving my point. She began clearing the table. The lunch was over, though neither of us announced it. I carried my plate into the kitchen out of habit. Mom opened the dishwasher. I almost loaded it, then set the plate beside the sink. She noticed. "Are you leaving?" "Yes." "We haven't had dessert." "I don't want dessert." "I made the lemon pie." "I know. You used to love it." "I still do." She stood in front of the refrigerator, one hand on the handle. "Can't we have one normal Sunday?" The request was so simple. That was its power. A normal Sunday meant pie and coffee. It meant wrapping leftovers for Grant. It meant Mom telling me what Carol had done, what Scott had forgotten, what Vanessa needed. It meant leaving with 3 errands and the reassurance that none of us had changed. "No," I said. Her face folded inward. "Not if normal means we never mention what happened. I don't want to spend every Sunday discussing Vanessa's mistake. That's not what I asked. You said contact was possible if I named what I protected. I said I should have shut it down." "Why didn't you?" I answered. "You said Vanessa was fragile." "She was, and I was strong." "You are. You still think that decides who deserves protection." Mom gripped the refrigerator handle. "I'm asking you to see me too. I see you, then say it." "Say what?" "That you protected Vanessa's hope because my pain seemed survivable." She stared at me. Her lips parted. I waited long enough to hear the refrigerator motor switch off. "I can't say that," she whispered. "Why?" "Because it makes me sound like I chose her. You did choose her. Not forever. Choices don't have to last forever to do damage." She began crying. I loved her. That was the worst of it. I wanted to cross the kitchen, take her hands, and give her softer language. I knew exactly which words would let her apologize without feeling accused. I kept them to myself. Mom wiped her cheeks. "I don't know how to be your mother if you won't let me help you. Try knowing me. I do know you. You know what I'll carry. That isn't fair." "No, it wasn't." I picked up my purse. She followed me to the entryway. "Will you come next Sunday?" "I don't know." "When will you know? When this house doesn't require me to pretend? You're going to lose years over one mistake. It wasn't one mistake. It was a system. That sounds like your counselor. It sounds like me." I opened the door. Mom's voice softened behind me. "I am sorry you were hurt." I turned. "I believe you." Relief flickered across her face. "But that is not the same as being sorry you helped hurt me." The relief disappeared. I left before I could repair that for her. Grant was in the studio when I got home, sitting at the work table with his bridge finally standing upright. He looked toward the doorway. "Well?" She couldn't say it. He nodded. "No, I told you so." No theory. No celebration that my mother had failed a test. He always believed she would fail. He held out his hand. I crossed the room and took it. "I left without helping with the dishes," I said. "That sounds serious. I also refused pie." He stood. "Now I'm worried." I laughed into his shoulder. Later, we ordered takeout and ate in the studio because the dining room still reminded me of printed emails and gold place cards. Our phones stayed in the wooden box downstairs. The envelope was in the bottom drawer of my work table. I took it out after dinner. "Do we need this?" I asked. Grant looked at it. "We have digital copies." That wasn't my question. He understood. We fed the pages through the shredder one by one. Vanessa's apology, her observations, her clean exit, Grant's refusal. The schedule for the end of my marriage disappeared into narrow white strips. The truth did not disappear with it. Mom and I spoke occasionally after that, but Sundays were no longer automatic. Scott kept her key. Vanessa and I exchanged short messages, careful ones with no borrowed clothes and no requests for rescue. She did not come to our house. Grant and I kept going to Dr. Pierce. We still argued. The difference was that we stopped offering our private hurts to the nearest audience and stopped calling silence peace. A few weeks later, I was hemming another pair of pants when Grant's bridge collapsed for the second time. He stared at the pieces. "I may be bad at this," he said. "You're very brave to admit it." He pointed a wooden support at me. Too soon. By several years. My phone rang downstairs. I knew from the pattern that it was Mom. 3 rings, a pause, then another call when I didn't answer. Grant did not look toward the door. He picked up the broken bridge and examined the joint. I stayed at my table. The phone rang again, then stopped. For once, nothing in me ran after it.